quorum. Let us start. And we have quorum with council members Arenas and Esparza and myself. Let's see. There is nothing on the consent calendar or the work plan review, so we will move right into our presentations and reports to committee. Item D1, Community Energy Programs Roadmap Update. Laura, you want to kick us off?
Sure. Is that on? So I'm Lori Mitchell, and I'm the Director of Community Energy. And today I'm joined by Zach Strike. He's our Deputy Director of Account Management, Marketing, and Communication.
I don't think you've got a good mic. Do you want to swap with somebody?
This would work.
Sorry about that. Yeah, maybe that's better. Is that better?
Yeah,
Okay.
much better. Thank you.
So I'm Lori Mitchell. I'm the Director of Community Energy, and today I'm joined by Zach Strike, the Deputy Director of Account Management, Marketing, and Communications, and Kevin Meehan, who is our Fuse Executive Advisor and Program Lead. So just quickly on our status and financial position, participation in our program remains high. It's above 98%. And in December of last year, we reached an important milestone, which was having $20 million in our operating reserve. We also plan to repay the $10 million in commercial paper loan this year. And so those are all really important, great steps. But however, we still have a ways to go. So we need to build an operating reserve level of 120 to 180 days of operating expenses. That translates to roughly $80 to $120 million over the next 5 years. And then, of course, I just want to remind everyone that our ability to do that significantly depends on regulatory and legislative outcomes, and in particular, the PCIA, also known as the exit fee that our customers pay to PG&E. And with that, I will turn it over to Kevin to go through an update of our programs.
Good afternoon, council members. My name is Kevin Meehan, and I'm the Fuse Executive Advisor and Programs Lead at the Community Energy Department. As a department of the City of San Jose, maintaining alignment with Climate Smart San Jose is important. The following figure shows the climate smart strategies San Jose Clean Energy programs will focus on, which are circled in blue. This slide outlines the program area recommendations that will serve as the primary focus for SJCE. These program categories have been chosen through collaboration with the Clean Energy Community Advisory Commission and were based on both other CCA's experience as well as their alignment with Climate Smart San Jose. On June 3rd, 2019, the Transportation and Environment Committee approved the following program guiding principles for San Jose Clean Energy. These guiding principles are proposed to serve as the basis for the program selection framework that will be introduced in the next slide. The following process flow outlines the steps San Jose Clean Energy recommends to follow to guide us through the selection of future programs. The following process steps incorporate both a quantitative assessment of programs done through program scoring, as well as an equity review and analysis done based off of released city guidelines. In the past year and a half, San Jose Clean Energy has engaged the community to collect ideas and feedback on potential programs. The following slide depicts the community input received during this process. In April, through resources provided as part of the American Cities Climate Challenge, the Rocky Mountain Institute will host a workshop bringing in industry experts to provide input on the program roadmap. In the current fiscal year, along with the development of this program roadmap, SJC has worked on several pilots and outreach efforts as shown in this slide. The websites listed are aimed to make SJCE a source of reliable information for our residents and customers to make cleaner and more cost-effective energy choices. As Lori mentioned in the beginning, as SJC works to reach our target reserve levels, we will develop programs that leverage external or co-funding sources. The following programs shown are expected to launch in 2020 and 2021, and all have either a primary focus on equity or have a critical element to reach low-income community members. In addition to the programs mentioned in the previous slide, SJC believes it is important to build momentum towards future programs through education and outreach. Many of these education and outreach programs have special focus reaching underserved community members that are normally late to adopt new clean energy technologies. This includes continuing our promotion of the Grid Alternatives Low-Income Solar Program, as well as conducting workshops on EVs in communities that have experienced less EV adoption thus far. When SJC reaches target reserve levels, we recommend to pursue the following list of programs. These programs offer a diverse set of options in addressing our program guiding principles, including emissions reductions through programs such as dealer EV incentives, equity through the Care Customer Discount and Low-Income Home Upgrade Program, and SJC financial stability through energy storage to offset expensive resource adequacy procurement costs. To summarize, SJC is asking for the acceptance of this report, including the program selection framework and 3 near-term programs listed in this slide. We will return to the full council later this year after further refinement of the program's roadmap. And with that, we'll open up to any questions.
Thank you. We will hear from the public first. I have one card. Blair Beekman. Are there other cards for this item? Can you check the mic? He hates to make sure the mic's on. He won't touch it.
Hi, thank you for this item. This is a really nice, important item to me, and I like the ideas of public outreach that you talked about with this item to lower income communities. You know, I always come around to mention fairly often the ideas of the local Community Energy Sustainability Commission. And they're a good group of people, and I think they can be a great way for the community, for all parts of the community, to want to address these issues of local energy. And they're a good group of people, and you can share your ideas, you can learn what's happening within that process, within this whole process. And it just makes for a good civic practice, and it's good stuff. And it's our future. And it defines our democracy for our future. It defines our good, safe practices. It asks questions, you know, we've been practicing and preparing for these good things for so long. It asks, for instance, why is PG&E acting the way it has when we are already doing these very good steps? And, you know, it's a process that we can all participate in and work with other local communities in the future. You know, it's limitless, the good democratic practices that local community energy can offer. And so I really, I'm hopeful in what we'll all be working with on this stuff. And thank you.
Thank you. Ruth Moreno?
My name is Ruth Moreno, and I chair San Jose Community Energy Advocates. In her memo, we support the SJCE preliminary program roadmap and its program guiding principles. In her memo, Lori Mitchell describes how CCA programs have focused on vehicle electrification among other programs to reduce GHGs. SJCE has a great, as Kevin mentioned, SJCE has a great web page that it has examples of both low-income and middle-income available rebates and their effect on EV prices. I think that's very important because car dealerships have not adequately marketed their EVs. To give you a personal example, I recently wanted to lease an EV with the longest range. I attended the San Jose Car Show in January, and amongst all the gas cars, I was able to locate a few EVs. 2 weeks ago, I leased a Kia Niro EV. The MSRP is $39,000, but with all the rebates, the price was below $30,000, and I was able to afford it. But the reason I bring it up is because, one, I had never heard of this car. Two, it has a range of 239 miles or more, which can really reduce range anxiety. It has all the bells and whistles. And finally, it's a compact SUV which meets the needs of many prospective buyers. As you know, SUVs are the best-selling cars right now, after trucks. I spoke with several of my colleagues, and none of them had heard of this car. I look forward to SJCE putting on the ride and drives and also with providing the needed charging infrastructure for EVs. Future additional SJCE rebates will also be very helpful. Thank you, Lori, Zach, and Kevin, for your leadership in vehicle electrification. Thank you.
Thank you, Ruth. And there were at least a couple of us up here who had also not heard of the Kia Niro. So I wrote it down. We're also in the market. Thank you. From my colleagues.
Yeah, a couple.
Councilmember Esparza?
Thank you. Yes, I have some questions around, when trying to apply an equity screen to some of this, the difference is so great. People who are in survival mode are not thinking about EVs. That's not the top thing. But in looking through some of the comments in the memos around the community outreach and the feedback that they were able to give us as a city, how are we able to sort of bridge the fact that there are real code issues, or there are other issues where we have a lot of families sharing housing? How can we work to incentivize parts of the city that live under those types of conditions to still be a part of the clean energy program and things like this moving forward?
Yeah, so I think there's a couple things that we are going to do that's part of our programs that we're going to be launching the next couple years. So the Cal EVIP program that we're going to be launching this year, that's a rebate program to install new charging infrastructure, will provide a incentive adder both to multi-unit dwellings and to communities that are in either low-income or disadvantaged community census tracts. So I think on the charging infrastructure side, there's going to be a lot of investment in those areas. I think the second thing is in terms of supporting those community members that have not seen the adoption is I think really the education outreach. The fuel savings from an EV compared to a gas vehicle, we estimate to be about $800 a year. The maintenance cost savings are 40 to 70% less for an EV compared to a gas vehicle. And we've seen in the surveys that we've done that most people don't know this. Especially where there's been less adoption. So there's a couple things that we want to do in terms of education outreach. I think the first is we're going to be doing a ride and drive event around the May timeframe. A lot of studies have shown when you get people in vehicles, when they drive it, and then you provide them education, conversion rates are very strong. I think the second thing that we're exploring to do is how can we leverage community partners like Peninsula Family Services that's doing a program with Peninsula Clean Energy to focus on financial empowerment and EVs, because buying an EV is still a financial decision, so we need to equip people making the right financial choices, and it might not be right for them, but I think with the rebates that are out there, with the fuel savings and the maintenance, I think there's a lot we can do to kind of at least make it an option for some people that don't think about it.
So I'm going to actually go back to my question because there was a piece of it that I wasn't answered, and I want to highlight that, but this was something that I brought up when this came to council on the state grant, which is there are a lot of residents in the city that do work on their own cars or have someone in the neighborhood that works on their cars for them. So maintenance in that situation is very different from taking your car into the dealership, right? And so I think kind of delving, if you're going to go into education, going into that a little bit more on what is it like to maintain what is likely going to be a used EV, right? What does that look like? But what I wanted to go back to, and I'll pull it up, in the memo, was on the feedback from, I think it was Somos Mayfair and Vivo, or ICANN. So I'm not talking just about EVs, I'm talking about clean energy technologies. So the fact is, as we move towards electrification, we have a lot of people living in situations that maybe aren't living up to code, or renting out a garage, or you have 4 or 5 families renting, separate families renting in one home. And so in those situations, I mean, not even getting to the cultural stuff, but I'm just talking about things that the city can play a role in, whether it's code enforcement or something else. How can we incentivize the landlords to electrify? How can we provide that guidance so that this can be a reality in half of the city that lives like this, right? And it lives under those types of conditions. So that's the point I'm trying to raise.
Yeah, that's a really great point. Thank you, council member. So a couple things I think that we're thinking about, number one is affordability. So maintaining that rate discount of being in the the base product, and making sure that that's more affordable than taking service from PG&E. The other thing I would point you to is some of the work that we have just begun under the energy efficiency program. So right now, everybody pays into a public goods charge, and PG&E runs most of the energy efficiency programs. We are recommending, as part of this roadmap, to go ahead and apply to the Public Utilities Commission so that we can administer those programs, so that we could offer something that's more tailored to our community. And in particular, we agree. We think you bring up very good points of, how to make sure that all of our residents are getting access to these, and particularly how are we incentivizing landlords. And I think one way to incentivize them is, to give them access to these rebates that are already available, right? So that it's not a financial cost to them. And I think the other thing that we're thinking about, and I'll let Zach talk about it maybe in more detail, is just about more education around certain energy upgrades that could provide mutual benefits both to tenants and landlords.
Thank you.
Councilmember Perla? Did you want to add more?
Maybe not, just really briefly. It's a poorly labeled, titled this disadvantaged community green tariff, in parentheses, community solar. So what that means is that through a program funded by the CPUC, we can build a small solar farm somewhere, anywhere in PG&E territory, as long as it's in a disadvantaged community area, and use the energy from that to serve. It would be approximately 500, I believe.
Around 600.
600 customers, and they would get a 20% rebate, 20% discount on their bills using that 100% renewable energy. And the best part is that San Jose Clean Energy is made whole. So any additional costs that we would have related to this energy and being an off-taker from a relatively small solar farm, we're all kept neutral, and the rest of our customers are kept neutral for that. So that's another upcoming benefit that we'll be applying for later this year.
Great, thank you. Councilmember Arenas?
Thank you, Chair. So I'd like to suggest that once that is up and going, that we provide some information, maybe at places where people typically go to, and that's like our community centers. A lot of parents go there and are waiting for their kids for dance class. I know, because I do this sometimes. And, we're just lounging around. We don't leave the building because we are obviously supervising still our children, even though they're in class. So wouldn't it be wonderful that while we're waiting, we can learn a little bit more about solar panels? Typically, people come to our homes, and we're not necessarily prepared or want to talk to people when we're at home in the middle of dinner or something else. So I would love it if we could find places where we already have some captive audiences, especially in those community centers that we know that may benefit a little bit more from the information. So that was something that I just wanted to put out there about that. But I also wanted to ask about, I know that there's a couple of, by the way, congratulations on the 20 million reserve mark, funding mark. That is absolutely fabulous, and I saw that you're gonna pay off the 10 million by the end of this year. So that is, wonderful. You're just barely, not even a year old,
We're
right?
1 year in February.
Oh my goodness, how the time flies when you're having solar fun. All right, so one of the things that I was thinking about as Councilmember Esparza was talking, and I know that there's a lot of advocacy for to make sure that there's equity. I thought about pulling some of like the easy pickings, if you will, for families, things that they're more likely to do. And one of the things that I saw that it's not going to be, I think, until 2 to 5 years in the making is the residential home electrification, especially the heat pump water heater. Because from what I understand, those are things that are kind of easier to do, right? I mean, that's easier to do than the solar panel. Definitely a less expensive option for sure. And as we know, water heaters expire every so often. So I would really encourage you to maybe push some of those easier pickings or some of those items that you think that working families can achieve or can take advantage of sooner than later.
Yeah, one thing to note, just on the figure 6 in the memo of future programs, what we mean by that is, in the future, we would potentially offer additional rebates for those programs. But I think in terms of education and really promoting the technology, that's something we could do right away.
Perfect.
And if I could just add, there's actually coming up this year 2 programs that we're going to be focused on doing outreach for. So BayRen, who's the regional energy network, with some CPUC regulatory changes, is going to be able to offer fuel switching devices incentives. For example, heat pump water heaters this year. We're tracking to see the timeline for that. So what that means is that some of the residents and customers of San Jose will be able to take advantage of those. The second very large program that's going to be launched is by the CEC and CPUC. It's called the Tech in the Build program. It's basically also incentives to incentivize both new construction and also existing building retrofits, with a carve-out for low-income disadvantaged communities as well to help them towards the trend towards electrification. I think the final thing that I'll just kind of comment on is with those 2 state agencies as well as the Regional Energy Network, there's a big advocacy push through the Building Decarbonization Coalition that we're a member of to focus on marketing and outreach and really to create the buzz around electrifying your home, both in terms of the health safety as well as the economic safety as well, or economic savings.
Thank you. And, and as you were speaking, I was thinking about our amnesty program for ADUs. And wouldn't it be wonderful, especially for those who are doing garage conversions or who are hoping that they can legitimize some of those garage conversions and just take on an electric stove, if that is something that's allowed, I'm not sure. Whatever our codes say we can allow in an ADU, I think it would be a wonderful kind of starting point for them, especially if at the end of this year we're going to have water heaters available through, you said a lot of acronyms,
Yeah.
and I think you said REN for that
Yes,
one.
BayRen.
BayRen,
Yes.
yeah. So for that one, and it's up to us to really link some of those things, right? So they're practical and it's not like a hidden gem for anybody. It doesn't have to be. It has to be, something just off the top of people's heads and word of mouth, and people expressing how easy and convenient and useful and less expensive on their phone bill. I mean, on their bill. So I think that the success of those type of programs is really up to us to decide with our community and how we carry those out. So once again, I would encourage you to work with us on council. I'm more than happy to connect you with our neighborhood associations, our community centers, and our libraries that people they just love to use them probably daily. And think about, really outside of the box. And I think you have been. I've seen you all. You've even hosted a drive and
Drive and
Help me.
ride.
drive and ride. Wow, I don't know why that was so complex because I did both of those things that day.
The ride and the drive is the same thing pretty much.
Yeah. So yes, I actually got a chance to drive in a Land Rover. It was a Land Rover version of an SUV, although, it was starting at like 80,000. I personally like SUVs. It's a personal choice. Everybody has a different take on cars. But those kinds of cars are really out of reach for some of us. And so I really love that you're sharing some of that Nero, Kia. I'm sure you're not paid by them either to advertise. But these are the kinds of things that I think help folks who may be considering purchases or who might be able just to inch by inch move into this a cleaner environment and just more efficient and just less expensive for them. And so I think I consider myself in that group. I'm just a typical working mom. And so I hope that I can also take advantage of a lot of those programs and share with my community so that we model what we're talking about as well. So thank you.
I also want to commend you on your anniversary and your milestone achievement for the reserve. That's great news. And I want to echo Councilmember Arenas' I had written down ADUs as well. Anything you can do to marry even not just the conversions and the amnesty, but also the new ADUs and providing information. When people are starting from scratch, I've actually had people asking me, hey, if I build an ADU, what happens to the gas line, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, it's actually gonna be cheaper for you to put in an induction cooktop and call it a day. So any kind of information you can have available maybe down in the permitting center might be good. And then if there's any way you can kind of cross-link with the ADU page on our website, I think that would be really helpful for people. And then the other question I had, I'm not sure exactly, so thanks for mentioning Bay Rent. I don't know a ton about it, but it looks like the websites that you have right now for EV, for going solar and for saving energy, a lot of that's not gonna be program specific for a little while. Is there any, I don't want you guys to have to maintain and duplicate efforts. If the other CCAs in the area also have that kind of information, is there any way we can just work together and all have one site that we send people to so that we don't have to, everybody, in all the different CCAs are doing the same kind of web pages? It's just an idea for maybe some efficiency.
Yeah, no, it's a great idea. We do collaborate with many of the CCAs on a number of things, and that's something we can certainly take up. Some CCAs, different programs offer different programs, so I think always there will be some differentiation, but certainly we can. And, we are really trying to also use our website as just a hub for information, so that's
Sure.
something we do think is really valuable, but it's a great point. If we can consolidate, that's better. The other thing I would mention is we think it's really important, all of the outreach that the council members do as well. So we're happy to provide you with toolkits and things like that so that you can also pass on information at your events. Yeah,
That's great.
Makes
Yeah,
sense.
we're happy to do that. And I know we all have a lot of different social media and we have newsletters every month. So happy to push out any kind of information. And I do actually hear from people that they read my newsletter. I don't know if they read the whole thing, but they at least say they open it. So that could be another avenue.
Yeah, we're happy to do that and provide you with a council toolkit. I think our EV page is, pretty impressive. Of course, I'm a little partial to it, but there are, just so that people know, there's over 50 vehicles on there, and people can sort by price, and it breaks down both the MSRP price and as well as the fuel and the maintenance savings. And one thing, just as I was looking at it, it's pretty amazing now how far EVs have come, and that even MSRP, there are some EVs that are just cheaper than their gasoline counterpart. And so I would definitely encourage people to take a look at that, and we can get that to council members so that all of you can push that out as well.
Yeah, that's really helpful because I actually didn't know, and very possible I missed it when you sent it out, but I didn't know that these 3 program websites existed. and I'm not, I'm not browsing the San Jose Clean Energy site on a regular basis. So, yeah, happy to push these out.
Yeah.
Thank you. Okay, so I think we just accept the update. You guys are gonna come back to us before we go to council, is that right?
That's right.
They'll come back to us in the fall.
go to council.
Okay, so I'll entertain a motion to accept the report. All in favor? All right, motion carries. Thank you, guys. And then we will move on to item number 2, integrated waste management recycle right and recycling markets update from Environmental Services. Carrie, you want to introduce your team?
I was hoping you'd ask. I'd love to. Hi, I'm Carrie Romanow, Director of Environmental Services. I'm joined by Valerie Osmond. Valerie is the Deputy Director leading the Integrated Waste Management Division, and Jenny Loft. Jenny leads all the marketing, outreach, and public information activities for ESD. So we are happy today to be here bringing you an update kind of on all the outreach we've been doing to influence our recycling behavior, and also share with you kind of what's going on around the world that influences what is actually marketable and therefore reused throughout the globe. With that, I'll turn it over to Valerie.
Great, thank you, Carrie. Good afternoon. As you may be aware, China released a national sword policy which created a dynamic and uncertain situation for global recycling markets. We're seeing alternate international markets emerging over the last couple of years, but the overall capacity is uncertain, and now we are seeing many of those markets implementing tighter restrictions to imports, similar to those in the China ban. Given the challenges with the recycling markets, we have developed Recycle Plus contracts that are adaptive to market changes. We've added a process for an adaptable recyclables list, which is used to evaluate contractors' performance. We developed a sliding scale for recycling payments based on the percentage of recyclable material collected, and we created a recycling market safety net. In the event markets become not reasonably available, the safety net can trigger a contract opener to discuss modifications to recycling obligations. These market accommodations can happen while we continue to maintain a convenient, consistent service for our residents. To highlight an example, in December 2019, following the new process to adapt contractual requirements to recycling market conditions, recycling contractors California Waste Solutions and Green Team jointly submitted a request to Environmental Services to amend the recyclables list. This recyclables list is used for studies that inform performance standards and determine appropriate compensation tiers. CWS and Green Team requested the removal of textiles, polystyrene, and plastic bags and other film plastic. The request included required substantiation, such as communications with recycling vendors and recent sales data. ESD approved the contractor's request to remove textiles and polystyrene from the list, and after discussion with our contractors, plastic bags and other film will remain on the list with the clarification that it be limited to clean and clear plastic film. While we rely on information from our contractors, we're also looking into leading indicators, where we need to get involved, and best practices. The uncertainty and restrictions of international recycling markets has created an industry-wide push for recycling programs to move forward towards redevelopment of domestic recycling markets, improving processing facilities, and waste prevention. For example, in the US, we're seeing a shift towards domestic plastic markets, such as new and expanding processing facilities. Also, we've seen a domestic shift for both paper and fiber markets, with paper mills reopening, and instead of turning trees into paper, these mills are taking in recyclable paper and generating paper pulp. To meet the material quality of the markets, we're seeing recycling sorting facilities installing additional technology and improving infrastructure, as well as hiring more staff and slowing down processing speeds, all in an effort to generate better quality material. In 2018, we entered into a unique public-private partnership between the city, Green Waste Recovery, and a small startup company, BioSelection, for a domestic end market solution. BioSelection is creating an alternative market for hard-to-recycle plastics, such as polyethylene, which includes number 2 and number 4 film plastics. BioSelection's innovative technology puts film plastic through a chemical process that turns it into a virgin product, such as high-performance plastics. The pilot recently completed, and BioSelection is looking at the next phase, which is to bring the project to full scale. BioSelection has been highlighted in many publications and recognized at many levels, including being awarded the Rolex Laureate Award for Enterprise. In addition to the development of alternative markets, waste reduction initiatives are also essential. To protect our watershed and reduce waste, San Jose has already banned plastic bags and polystyrene food serviceware. California passed a law restricting the use of plastic straws at full-service restaurants unless requested. Other Bay Area cities have recently passed bans on single-use disposables, and we are exploring similar programs. These policies strive to protect the environment and reduce waste, which reduces pressure on collecting, sorting, and marketing of low-value material. I'm going to pass this along to Jenny, who's going to provide an update on the Recycle Right campaign.
Thanks, Valerie. I'm going to cover the Recycle Right public education campaign. ESD began the transition of conducting recycling outreach last July due to this China stored policy, as well as some stringent state recycling requirements, and to meet the city's zero waste goals. Our partners in this effort include most of the recycling contractors as part of their current agreement to provide public education. Part of developing an outreach campaign consists of research. We've identified audiences for the Recycle Right campaign, which target the general public in single-family and multifamily households, Spanish and Vietnamese-speaking residents, low-income households, city staff, and youth. We also conducted 5 baseline surveys asking San Jose residents about their recycling knowledge and behavior, then used the information to establish the baseline for campaign effectiveness. We'll survey again to see if there's any behavior change after a year of implementing the Recycle Right campaign. Most environmental programs rely on behavior change, including recycling. Behavior science studies indicate that to change one behavior, it may take up to 8 months to change the behavior. Since recycling is complex and requires multiple behavior changes, it may take longer than 8 months to see results. We're in the first year of the campaign. The messages for it are really simple. 1, answer the question, what are recyclable items? And 2, eliminate food and liquid from materials placed in the recycling bin. As part of the campaign and to produce an easy tool to inform residents of what items are recyclable, we launched sanjoserecycles.org in July 2019. This new website is data-driven and allows the user to quickly and easily search over 300 recyclable items. The website also has videos and blogs. So on the PowerPoint slide that you see are examples of the sanjoserecycles.org landing page. We change the graphics regularly to engage users. For instance, you can see on the left side is the image to welcome our Vietnamese community when we conducted outreach during the Lunar New Year. The bottom right is how to recycle your stuff for Valentine's Day. And the top right image is our constant ad. We're seeing great response from our residents to our new website. About 6 months after launching sanjoserecycles.org, more than 60,000 people have visited the website. On average, more than 9,000 new users visit the site each month, some using the website more than once. According to our web vendor, sanjoserecycles.org is seeing on average 5 times more web traffic growth than other cities that they support. This is adjusted for per capita. The chart you see here is from January, and as of last week, more than 69,000 people have visited this website. It's a 15% increase from the January statistics. Here are some examples of the ads that we are currently running in English, Spanish, Vietnamese, as well as using our sports ambassadors, the earthquakes, and the sharks. The Recycle Right campaign has over 100 outreach tactics to deploy the message, San Jose Recycles Clean, and a call to action to visit sanjoserecycles.org to recycle right. Similar to other ESD public education campaigns, the Recycle Right campaign targets specific audiences and has a range of tactics from traditional paper flyers to high-tech methods to ensure that our diverse community has access to information. Most outreach materials are in English, Spanish, and Vietnamese, as you can see here. Some of the outreach tactics include hard copy flyers and postcards distributed at libraries, community centers, and at community events. Other tactics include direct mail, digital ads on social media and Google, ads in newspapers in digital format, on radio and television, ads in malls and movie theaters, earthquakes and sharks ads in their stadiums and on VTA buses, just to name a few. We are also creating our own videos shown on the ESD social media platforms and on the sanjoserecycles.org and ESD website. To be inclusive of a diverse city and to address equity, Vietnamese, Spanish, and low-income community outreach is a focal point of the Recycle Right campaign. In addition, we have staff members who speak Vietnamese and Spanish. In all of our outreach efforts, we welcome any feedback for additional tactics to make sure that our diverse community is informed. Community engagement is a cornerstone of this campaign. In about 6 months, there have been 47 presentations to neighborhood associations and libraries, as well as tabling at community events. You can see where they are here geographically. In January, when we put this information together, we had 12 additional engagements planned. As of today, we have 28 additional engagements planned. By the end of June, we expect to double the number of engagements from last fiscal year, thanks to council offices and neighborhood associations for outreach assistance, and also thanks to our enthusiastic ESD staff and recycling contractors engaging with our community. All community engagements are posted on the ESD website and Facebook calendars. Here are some pictures of the ESD staff sharing Recycle Right information in the community. Look for more community events, City Hall presence, and partnerships as we head towards April for Earth Day 50th anniversary celebrations. We continue to look for opportunities to educate our community to help meet ESD's goal of cleaner recyclable materials diverted from landfill. Thank you. I'm here to answer any questions you may have.
Thank you. We have one public speaker, Blair Beekman.
Hi. In dealing with issues about China and plastics overall, I wanted to bring up one of the points I've been trying to make when I speak here recently is that this is supposed to be the time period in the next 10 years to start to really address the issues of fracking and in this country, U.S. fracking. And plastics really rely on fracking a lot. And you know, it's our point to try to begin to limit and bring down the use of fracking. And I just wanted to put that out there for understanding about how we can think for this coming decade and how your decision making around this subject here and how China will be considering their issues as well. You know, just how we can all be thinking about this subject at this time. And just to offer a bit of clarity about it, I hope can help. I also wanted to offer, again, from the previous item that, you know, the community energy, they're trying to create really important, they've been planning for years, really important practices for our community. And it's upsetting that they're totally trying to work with PG&E, and for PG&E, you know, on their upper echelon of thinking, the way they've been acting with the wildfire situation across the state, or in the northern part of the state, it's very frustrating to these good efforts that we're doing at the local level. And so I just wanted to remind everyone of that, and thank you.
Thank you. I'll turn it back to my colleagues. Councilmember Perales.
Thank you very much. Thank you for the presentation update. Just a couple questions. So the first one, I'm just kind of curious, what's the possibility that we look at changing our recycling methods? And the only example I have to go on is what we used to do, which was the dividing ourselves, right? So either that or you know, ourselves kind of changing the way we're recycling. If you
Thank you. And I also wanted to share that several of our haulers are also here, so they might be able to add another layer to the conversation. We're working collaboratively with the haulers to sort of decide which path makes sense going forward. The challenge with the 3 separate bins is someone has to get out of the truck, pick them up, and put them in, and you need a truck that divides things differently, or you need more trucks. Not to say that that doesn't make sense, but as we move forward with our zero waste plan, we are looking more broadly, understanding that changes may influence the economics of it, but if the end result is improved, then that would be better for everyone. So definitely open to ideas, but I think still part of the challenge in our community is generally my neighbors and I feel really good when our recycling cart's full. And we need to feel less good about that. And we need to kind of lower the overall amount of waste that we're producing so there's less material to start with.
Yeah, and I do like obviously the educational component of it. I obviously seen it myself in the recycling bin. Somebody puts something that's contaminated or half full of liquid or whatever, right? And now you just maybe contaminate the entire bin because it spills and opens up all over the dry cardboard. So knowing, sort of what you can put in there not to contaminate it, I think will be helpful. But I would be curious. I don't know if there's a representative from any of the haulers that wanted to mention on your end, if there was anybody here. No? Yes? I don't mean to put you on the spot, but I'm curious, right? In sort of from your perspective, right? Is that an actual possibility that we're looking at in the future? Because and now it is getting so difficult on the back end to sort that out and get contaminants or get less contaminated recyclables.
Thank you. Emily Hansen with Green Waste Recovery. I never mind being put on the spot because I love the industry that I work in, so I'm always happy to answer questions. And it's a moving target, so you're asking some very good questions. One of the things that I think that we don't necessarily do as good of a job that we could promoting is the fact that San Jose is extremely unique in that not only are your recyclables processed, not only is your yard trimmings processed, but your garbage is processed. And so when we start looking toward different collection methodologies and whether we would want to take that blue bin and further parse it out, for example, and kind of go back to the days of having a crate, for example, at your house where you put paper in one, cans in another, bottles in another. There's a large carbon footprint, as Director Romanow mentioned. You have to have different trucks, you have to have bigger trucks, you have to have the capacity to separate them, and then you have to have what's called load balancing. So if there was during a particular time of season, you had a lot of paper, but the other 2 compartments weren't full, you'd have to go back and unload that material. So having the single stream, which is where all of those different material types go into the container, from a processor perspective and from a hauler perspective, we prefer that single stream. I know that CWS is also here, and I'm not sure if there's a green team representative as well, but they're the haulers that are also collecting that material. Green Waste Recovery processes all the garbage. We also process the multifamily recyclables, and we process recyclables from Garbage District B. So we have a pretty large share of material. One of the things that, from our perspective, we have encouraged ESD to keep that list of recyclable materials as expansive as possible, even though China has constrained what is recyclable or can be recycled nowadays. And the reason for that is, for example, on film plastics and the city partnership with our company and with BioSelection, the startup. If you take all of that film plastic that used to be in the recycling bin and you say, you know what, we're not going to accept any of that, even if it's clean and clear, all that material ends up going into the garbage container. And it still ends up at our facility and still gets processed, but we've now virtually eliminated any chance of recovery because we've now made it dirty plastic. So our goal is to keep everything as clean and dry as possible and keep that list of recyclable materials as expansive as possible, but really just focusing on that clean and dry aspect. It maximizes our opportunity to be able to recover those materials even as markets ebb and flow. An example of that, clamshells, where you go and buy, you have that clear plastic that a lot of fruits and vegetables, for example, are in. We don't always have a market for those, but we often have a market of those. If we were to take that clamshell and say, you know what, we don't want it in the recycling bin anymore because we don't have a reliable and consistent market for it, and now we want to put it into the garbage container, we've just lost any hope of being able to recover that material. So there's a big perception about, well, if it's not recycled, why are you having us put it in the recycle bin? And the reason is, let's rely on the back-end processors to find and maximize those markets so that we can, if there's an opportunity to recover it, that we can actually recover it, find a market, and recycle it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
That is helpful. Did you want to add something? Please.
Thank you, council and executive staff. We agree with what Emily had to say, and thank you for your comments and question about having dual streams or two streams versus single stream. We'll embrace and investigate any collaborative effort. We like the impression of having all the materials in the recycling containers as well, and having the back end, as Emily had described, find the solution. We agree that we don't want to confuse the public about what's recyclable and what's not. Our biggest effort for the last decade has been to reduce the contamination. Essentially, the pork roast and the baby diapers in the recycling. That's where we see the biggest effort, and we think that the city's program to embrace the non-food or no food and no liquid as being an excellent move toward improving the stream. And if you have more questions, please ask.
Thank you. No, that's helpful. I recognize, right, I mean, we've had this focus, and I did not know it was called Operation Sword or China's Natural Sword. So that was educational in itself. But you know, there's been a focus, right, in regards to the shift and what China has accepted, and so I just know that for us, kind of curious, right, beyond this education, if there was going to be a need to do something more. Sounds like at the moment that should be our focus on the education, but I think time will tell in regards to the use. But I do like what you said, Carrie, which is really just the less use in general. That led me to, and I was doing just a little, research while I was sitting here, in regards to I was curious on the uptick in cardboard use through deliveries like Amazon. And what has that, I was looking for if there's been any analysis on what sort of uptick that has caused. And so, for me, I would love to see something more along the lines of what you mentioned in the presentation around more domestic, use of that, right? And for instance, for a behemoth like Amazon, right, to be able, I did notice there's some sort of innovative approach to what their designs they're putting on their cardboard, so that way, like, a kid sees a little car on the side and you cut it out when you open it to make it like a car. Well, great, that's fun, but that doesn't necessarily help, right, with the actual use of the material and lessening it. And we, the consumer, are the real culprit here, because, right, we're using the hell out of Amazon. So for me, though, it would be great if there was some sort of a nice cyclical process where an organization, company like Amazon that was using and producing so much cardboard use, that there was a circle back, right? And to be able to continue to recycle that and make that use here domestically, rather than what's been happening, which is, shipping it off to China, and then now we're losing that market. So I don't know if you know of any, sort of efforts in that regard, or any of the, sort of that shift.
Yeah, thank you. We're seeing it sort of on both sides. So if you're a frequent visitor of Amazon, if you order multiple things, you can kind of pick your day. So you can order through the week and then have everything delivered in one day, which is going to be fewer boxes, fewer trips, et cetera. On the sort of reusing the cardboard side, we anticipate, as the zero waste plan continues to mature and we land on sort of a short and long-term path forward, that working with sort of all the many ways we get materials to our homes and to our businesses, that we'll start to figure out how we can reduce that total volume. So we're kind of working, as Jenny indicated, now on the no food, no liquid, no problem, for those Kenny Chesney fans. Sound familiar? So that we can sort of clean it up as CWS and Green Team articulated. It becomes the most important thing and not confuse our community. But we have a lot of work to do. We are very excited, though, to see those domestic recyclers come back. So that's a great opportunity if we can get to not having to ship things millions of miles away. That'd be great.
Yeah, agreed. And obviously, I'm excited as well that we are going to aim towards our own local law here on single-use plastic ban. And so obviously just barely prioritize that, but certainly giving now I think the support needed to move in that direction, to go even further than what California has done and continue down that path of actually eliminating some of the use of these materials. And I would agree as well. I think that education, I think we should start looking for partners, especially in corporations like Amazon, but I know Target is a big shipper as well. It's as a new industry, right? And I'm guilty of it myself as well. You figured out how to use Amazon Prime, and one day you order toothpaste, and the next day you're like, oh, I'm out of Q-tips, and you order Q-tips, and then these things are arriving in their own individual boxes on different days, and certainly, right, and I know they've begun to do that. Amazon has had this sort of, you get the option now if you want to, you can wait or postpone, not necessarily need your items in 24 hours, whatever it may be, in individually boxed. But I do think that that's a big, that is a big educational component as well, where it's not just our own consumers and our own processes of recycling and trash. It's how we consume in general. And there we need our corporate partners, right, to be able to help in that regard as well. And I do know at least we're fortunate here in the state of California to move in that direction, to kind of push that needle. But I think we continually need to look for ways to be able to do that. One is obviously, again, with this single-use plastic ban, but I think there may be other opportunities. And so thank you for the work that you're doing, and I'll move to accept the report.
Second. Thank you. Councilmember Esparza.
So thank you for all your work on this. This was very memorable for me because this was the second or third council meeting of January. So as new council members, Councilmember Foley and I were out running around, having lots of meetings, going out to visit many of you. And so this was especially gratifying to see the tremendous amount of work that has gone into this. So thank you. And thank you for the public outreach, and then also addressing the non-collection notices, that information. One of the things that we had talked about last year was the fact that particularly in certain parts of the city, there was a lot of contamination, and there were a lot of homes that were being rented, multiple families living in them, but getting the smallest container possible for maybe 15 people living in there. And how is that moving forward?
Thank you, and I want to share that the great work is really a partnership, not just of city staff, but also with our haulers. I believe we're in a much better partnership position than we were 24 months ago, and so it's great to see us all moving in the right direction. We're learning a lot, so we're kind of in learning mode right now. We do our next curbside audit in the residential market in October, and then that's where we start to say, hey, how's our outreach? Is it effective? But also what's happening in the marketplace. Concurrently, we're in the midst of a rate analysis, so we're doing a new rate study to say how can we reduce or remove the price differentiation between cart sizes. Right now, your garbage bill is you pay based on the size of your garbage cart, but at this point, recycling is more expensive. So we need to make what people are paying more reflective of the service. Or my personal preference would be that have whatever size cart you like, and you pay the same, much like sanitary sewer. So that way, people are getting what makes sense and sorting appropriately, because we really need that recycling cart to be clean. So we're working together to sort of see how that works out financially, get feedback from our haulers to say what would work the best for you, and then do some community outreach to get more feedback from the community. And then that curbside audit sort of gives us the, hey, we've talked a lot, but what's really happening?
Yeah, that's really helpful. And, my preference is the second one as well, especially because it's not cheap to change human behavior, right? And so whether you're doing it on the front end or the back end.
And he reminds me of that. Yes.
So whether it's on the front end or the back end, it's still going to happen. And I wanted to also echo my colleagues' comments about partnering with the business community and looking, maybe that's something that the Office of Economic Development can help in ways that we can address, like, for example, just-in-time inventory practices, which really address the constant shipping as well in stores, or ways that we as a city can create economic incentives for things like curbside, because I too went through that whole Amazon thing a few years ago, like, oh my God, I'm contributing to this thing, but what are, other than like going in a store, right? But what are some of the alternatives? But there's curbside, like there are actual sort of technology, sort of hybrid models like curbside and other things where it is a little bit of a hybrid, and how can we as a city sort of incentivize some of those things, particularly in parts of the city that are very densely populated. And it's, I think, an opportunity now as we move forward with, what's going to be happening with Google, or what's going to be happening with other developments in urban villages, that there are ways to kind of incentivize certain behavior to reduce waste at the front end as well. But I just want to thank you. This is a lot. And as a new council member last year, having to learn a lot of this, it's really nice to see all the work that you've done. So thank you.
Thanks. I also wanted to share, we're doing some pilots at city facilities. So we're sort of experimenting on ourselves, and we'll see what we learn in that regard that might influence kind of who we partner with and what works and what doesn't work in terms of communications.
Thank you. Other comments or questions from my colleagues? Okay, I just have one, and I'm sheepishly admitting that I've seen the no food, no liquid, no problem many, many times, and it wasn't until just now when somebody said clean and dry that it tweaked for me. I'm like, I'm not putting liquids in there, right? I dump it out and then I throw it in there. It's not dry. So that, I didn't make that connection that it had to be totally dry until just now. And I started putting my my containers through the dishwasher, which is what my mother-in-law did, and we all made fun of her, and good-naturedly, but she said they have to be clean, and she had been doing it for many years, and then I started seeing the San Jose Recycles clean, and I'm like, oh, okay, I'm gonna do what Janet did, and I'll start throwing them in there, and so, but the ones that I just rinse out and they're clean, I just throw them in there. I didn't know they had to be dry. So that's just a little bit of feedback on the campaign, because maybe I'm the only one, but I was actually not equating no liquid with it has to be dry.
It doesn't have to be dry. It has to be just not really wet.
Almost dry? So maybe clean and dry might be.
Yeah. How dry does it have to be?
Mostly dry.
My understanding, it doesn't have to be super dry.
Okay. So just wanting to make, I was going, oh, shoot, I was doing all this and trying to, and then I'm contaminating it anyway.
So we're trying to keep our program simple and convenient for our residents to use and understand. And so we certainly did not want to give the message that you have to like really clean or run your things through the dishwasher or dry it.
By the way, peanut butter through the dishwasher, it still doesn't get clean.
Right.
Yeah.
So we just encourage
gotta take a
people
brush
to scrape and empty is another couple other words that we use pretty frequently, scrape and empty.
Scrape and empty.
And also,
Okay.
water is very valuable, so we don't want to imply that people use a whole bunch of water to clean everything out. So yeah, just dump it out, give it a little
Okay.
shake. You're good.
Okay, good.
Yep.
Thank you.
Shake
I
that
really
one.
appreciate that. I feel much better now. Just wanted to clarify. I think that was my only question. And we already have a motion, so all those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? All right, that motion carries. Thank you, ESD team. Appreciate it. Next up, we have our Regional Transportation Quarterly Activities Report. And just as a reminder to my committee colleagues, remember, if you are on a transportation related committee, please feel free to, I'll be calling you after staff gives their presentation to give an update as well. Since we have no formal way of doing that anywhere else, we're starting to do it in our committee. And I think, Jessica, are you kicking us off?
Yes, absolutely. Let me find where we're going. There we go. Up, up, up.
And we have guests from VTA that Jessica will introduce.
Great.
Just a couple of, yeah, exactly. We're filling up the chairs over here. So yes,
What is a group of transportation people called?
a gaggle.
Is it a gaggle?
I'm pretty sure we're a gaggle.
As long as it's not a murder.
Right, yeah, definitely not like crows.
Like crows.
Yeah. All right, good afternoon, everybody. This is, in fact, the Regional Transportation Activities, the quarterly report that goes to the Transportation and Environment Committee. I'm Jessica Zank, Deputy Director for DOT, and I'm here with John Risto, Director, as well as many of our colleagues from VTA who are going to walk you through our agenda for today. That agenda, per the memo in your packet, includes an update on the new transit service plan that went into effect at the very end of last year, an update on the BART Silicon Valley project, and then on the Eastridge to BART Regional Connector Light Rail project, all of which are moving forward. So I'm going to start by turning it over to Jason, also known as Jay Tyree, with VTA, to talk about the new service plan, and I will load those up, Jay.
Great, thank you. Jay Tyree, Manager of Service Planning at VTA. So I have a quick briefing for you, some slides here to give you a little introduction to our service plan. The first slide that we have, just to kind of set the stage for our transit operations funding, if you go to this is the sources, various sources of VTA's transit operating funds. And so you can see here, we get money from a lot of different sources. I'll note over 3/4 of the money that we get is sales taxes. So that's the permanent half-cent sales tax, and then various state taxes and some local measures. Measure A is there. We get a dedicated funding stream from Measure A, as well as the 2016 Measure B. You'll see 3% of our transit operating funds. So many different sources for a total of around $500 million per year of transit operating money. So like Jessica said, we implemented our new service plan on December 28th, Saturday. This was the most significant restructuring of VTA's transit network that we've done in our history. So a lot is riding on this new service. We're very excited. And so far, so good. Just a few of the main highlights or fundamentals of that plan. It is built on intensive community outreach because there are many values that you express in your transit network, and we wanted to match the community's values, and so it was a very extensive community outreach process to develop the plan. One important thing in the new network is an emphasis on what we're calling the frequent network. This is a new kind of transit industry term. The frequent network is a network of routes that come every 15 minutes or better all day on weekdays, and that's really where your ridership comes from. We used to call them our core routes, and so an expanded frequent network, which I'm going to get to in another slide here, is a fundamental part of the new network. Of course, connections to BART service at Berryessa and Milpitas stations when BART opens up are very important in the plan. And we did improve weekend service. That's another good example of community values that are reflected here. They told us they really valued weekend service. The last bullet is also pretty important. Probably the biggest takeaway here is the big fundamental philosophy behind this plan is essentially more service in higher ridership areas and more investment in those areas and lower service in the lower ridership areas. This is a budget neutral plan. So the next slides, I have a couple of visuals here that I think illustrate the expansion of the frequent network really well. You can see here, this is just an example of access to San Jose State University downtown. You can see in the old network, 902,000 of our county residents had access could get to San Jose State within an hour on the old transit network. In the new network, it's an extra 41,000 people, so 943,000 people can access San Jose State within an hour on the transit network. Next slide. This shows kind of countywide, that is just one example. The San Jose State was just one example. This shows where the frequent network and who they serve. All the dots on the screen here represent the residents of Santa Clara County, and you can see in the red, there's approximately 570,000 of our county residents lived near a frequent route. And if you go to the next slide, you can see the expansion of that network significantly in the new service plan, whereas over 250,000 new residents live near the frequent network. And you can do the same thing with jobs. Our next slide here is the same. This is the old network. 380,000 of our jobs are on the frequent network. And the next slide, in the new service plan, and an additional 204,000 of our county jobs are within walking distance of the frequent network. So significant expansion, and this is kind of where the fundamental of where the ridership expansion is going to come from. This slide here I just threw in that kind of shows the composition of our network. These are all of the routes that we operate, and you can see the boardings per hour, which is the standard productivity matrix used in the industry to show how well your resources are being spent, essentially. And we have a minimum productivity standard of 15 boardings an hour, so you can see a lot of this is the old network, this performance of the old network. So a lot of the philosophy was to reallocate resources from those underperforming routes to the more performing routes on the left-hand side of the screen there. Just want to touch on the light rail network very briefly. This is the new network with the new orange line across the top from Mountain View to Alum Rock, including stopping at the Milpitas BART station. That's a very important connection from the East Bay to the jobs. And then the blue and green line. One of the things that we did with the blue line, we had to trim that back to Bay Point to save $3.2 million, essentially, in order to make this new network budget balanced. And then this slide here shows the bus service at Berryessa, North San Jose Transit Center. There's quite a bit of bus service that takes you from the BART and other transit routes as well to all different parts of the county, including the Rapid 500, which is our new route, currently just in downtown San Jose, but when BART service begins, it'll go between Diridon, San Jose State, and Berryessa BART station, and that'll meet all the trains. So folks just come off the BART trains and go right to the Rapid 500. And then my final slide here is just kind of a next step slide where we're not going to stop with this network and improving our transit network. This is our new performance monitoring program where we'll be monitoring our network, reporting on its performance regularly at VTA committees, and then we can make minor changes in short order, and then the major changes we're going to do annually. So every year in February, we'll implement a new service plan for that calendar year service plan. And that process will kick off in the early summer, so actually we're gearing up for 2021's service plan. So it will be continually improved. And that's all I have.
Before you move on, can I just, can you talk about minor changes versus major changes? What would a minor change be versus a major change?
Sure. VTA, under our Title VI service equity policy, we have a clearly delineated definition of what a major service change would be. That would include any route elimination, a change of any more than 10% of a route's hours or alignment, anything that really, or actually the other one that is really important, is anything that might have community opposition. So it really does fall into things that are like, well, instead of going back to serve this senior center, we're just going to stay on the main corridor. That would be a thing that would have to go through the major service change process, which would include Title VI analysis, community outreach, et cetera, to give the community a chance to weigh in. Minor things are really just like adjusting schedules here and there to make Caltrain connections and that kind of thing that really you don't really notice much.
Thank you.
So this is John Russo, Director of Transportation. I just handed out an additional slide that we didn't get a chance to get into the VTA presentation. And this is a topic of transit signal priority, and it occasionally comes up as questions that the council and mayor may have of staff, most recently at the priority setting meeting last week. So this was just to add some clarification to what the transit signal priority system that the city has with VTA services. And the handout, I'm just going to touch on a couple of them. What transit signal priority is just a signal system that provides some additional green time or holds the green longer for transit vehicles. It's not the preemption that we have for just for our emergency vehicles. We have applied this transit signal priority for over 20 years on the light rail system and over 10 years on the first bus rapid transit system 522 and about 5 years on 323 that goes all the way out to De Anza. So working with VTA, the city does manage and own the signal, so we're the ones that have to put it in place. But just to clarify, there has been some confusion over whether or not the city does provide this to VTA's transit vehicles, and we have been doing that for now over 20 years. There's a number of upgrades that we're working on, and we continually work with the VTA technical people on these things. So the backside of this shows the 3 routes that we have transit signal priority. We fully anticipate that as VTA and the city work together in trying to improve on transit speeds and frequencies, that the TSP, transit signal priority, is probably going to be rolled out some additional corridors as well. So I just wanted to provide this as clarity to some questions that continually come up from council. Thanks.
Kathleen?
Great. So we were planning, unless there are other clarifying questions for Jay, to move through all the presentations and then take questions as a group. Okay,
Go ahead.
great. With that, then, I am going to ask Jill Gibson and Bernice Alanese to give us the latest and greatest on the BART Silicon Valley extension.
Good afternoon. Thanks for letting me give you an update on the BART Silicon Valley program, both on Phase 1 and Phase 2. For the Phase 1 progress, as many of you know, and as we've reported before, the relationship with VTA and BART, with VTA being the owner of the project and BART being the future operator, it adds a layer in between because typically the owner and the operator are one and the same. So we've had this additional step of operator acceptance. We had progressed about 80% through that operator testing, and there were discrepancies that were identified. And right now, we have been making significant progress on resolving those discrepancies. Some of those are things that were maybe not delivered exactly as scoped. Others were maybe operational preference, and some are items that maybe the testing wasn't exactly appropriate, so they were disputed. We've been resolving anywhere from 30 to 50 of those a week, making significant progress. We've also gone through a step to prioritize those discrepancies on what is essential to get to revenue service. So as we're knocking those out, as soon as we complete those, BART will resume its acceptance testing, the remaining 20%, and then we'll be advancing to the next steps of pre-revenue operations, which is where they actually replicate the future service and start training the operators, and then they will do their safety certification through the CPUC. So for our Phase 2, the extension into downtown San Jose and Diridon Station, then to Santa Clara, we have just achieved 10% design. And we are now, once you reach that, you go and look at that and start refining what those cost projections are and schedule projections, looking at how you might package the contracting, how you might phase the actual construction and look at efficiencies. So we're in that process right now. And getting to a point where we can reforecast a schedule and a cost projection. We are continuing to work with the FTA through the Expedited Project Delivery Program. That is a new funding program, and VTA is the first agency, and the BART Silicon Valley Phase 2 project, the first project in that program. We received the first allocation through that program this past summer. And we're working very closely with the FTA because it's a new program. We have an opportunity to basically define what we want to demonstrate, not necessarily meet specific criteria. So this really is an opportunity for us to demonstrate the merits of the project. We're working with FTA on what might be suitable for us to submit through that formal process, and we're advancing in that process.
So I wanted to spend a little bit of time talking about the development of the Construction Outreach Management Program. So this is a significant effort that our Phase 2 team is developing this year. The development and implementation of the COMP is just a reminder. It's a mitigation measure and a commitment that's reflected in the project's environmental document.
So the comp consists of 3 parts. So the first is the construction education outreach plan, and this really guides the public awareness and communications and engagement throughout the life of the project through the different construction phases. The second is the construction transportation management plan, which will coordinate all of the circulation and access needs for all modes in and around all of the construction sites. This includes things like detours and lane closures and communications and parking impacts and that kind of thing. The CTMP is really, it's the guiding document that informs more of the detailed traffic control plans, which the city ultimately approves. And finally, the Emergency Services Coordination Plan, which coordinates all of the emergency services in and around construction to ensure there's access for those emergency services routes. Each of these plans will have specific details for each of the construction sites and will all inform the construction contract specifications. So that's a key point, is where these 3 plans have teeth. So I wanted to just highlight one of the key activities that's a part of the Construction Education Outreach Program, which is the Business Resource Program. It's being developed with special attention to small businesses, and we're looking at how small businesses can be supported throughout the life of the project. I should say that we're collaborating quite closely with the Office of Economic Small Business Development team, as well as the city's Small Business Advisory Task Force. So really, we have developed our own small business task force, which is made up of members of small businesses, of course, advocacy groups, and other stakeholders, and they're guiding this program, and we're anticipating utilizing them throughout construction as well. We'll be collecting access and operational information from small businesses, so we'll be doing this in multilingual and multicultural ways along the alignment. We'll also be analyzing case studies and best practices of what other mega transit projects have done, looking at what LA Metro has done, of course, as well as Seattle and our Twin Cities, et cetera. So we'll be collecting kind of best practices. And finally, we'll be ultimately creating a program to support small businesses along the project corridor prior to and during construction. So currently, we're developing this small business resource study that we'll be taking to the board, VTA board, sometime in the summer timeframe, and looking for the board to provide some guidance on how we move forward and to actually develop the plan to implement prior to construction.
All right, and with that, we're going to shift over to Kathleen Podrosky, who, as soon as I load her slide, will pick up on the other project getting ready to go into construction, which is, of course, the East Ridge Light Rail connection.
And this is on, okay. You can go ahead and go to the next one. So I'm Kathleen, hi, good afternoon. And Sylvia, this will be like, you've heard part of this, you're gonna hear part of this again in a couple weeks, so. Is this on? Okay. Okay, so real quickly, I'm just sharing the light rail service map. This is the one that Jay just shared with you. And if you look over on the right on the orange line where Alum Rock is listed, little dotted lines show the East Ridge extension from Alum Rock to the East Ridge Transit Center. This is on Capitol Expressway. You can go ahead and go to the next slide. And briefly, I'm going to focus on the outreach, but what I wanted to just give a brief what we're building for those of you who are not in District 5 or 8 and have heard this a few times already. We're extending our light rail from the Alum Rock Station on Capitol Expressway or Capitol Avenue down Capitol Expressway to the East Ridge Transit Center. It's about 2.4 miles. It's going to be an aerial guideway, so it'll be above grade the entire way with a station at Story Road that will be elevated and a ground level station at East Ridge. You can go ahead to the next slide. And before we can do any construction of that, we have to do some utility relocation. We have these old PG&E lattice towers that need to be replaced with the nice, sleek tubular towers. We'll be doing that. That takes about 3 months. And then we have a lot of underground utilities that also need to be replaced. This should start sometime this fall. and will take almost a year to do. And we will not start any light rail construction until all of the utilities have been replaced. Okay. So quickie schedule, last summer, the Board of Directors approved the final second supplemental environmental impact report. Final design of the light rail extension should be complete by this summer. We'll start the utility relocation in the fall, begin construction next summer of 2021, and hopefully, if everything stays on schedule, begin revenue service in 2026. And next one. Oh, these got switched. Okay. I had stakeholder working group first, but we'll go here first. Not a problem. It's all about being flexible. Okay. So we're developing a project construction outreach plan. It's an overarching community outreach and public engagement plan. It'll have chapter topics describing what to expect, how will we reach you. It will include a construction impact mitigation plan and describe how we communicate, the frequency of how we communicate. So it will look at some of the main impacts of construction. Traffic, how will we mitigate it with, and you're nodding your head, yeah, that's gonna be the worst. Temporary lane closures, intersection closures, and the other two really big ones are noise and vibration, especially when we do the pile driving for the columns. It'll describe different ways. We're gonna have a field office, where it's going to be located, who's going to staff it, when it will be staffed, an outreach phone number to reach us. It'll describe, all, on the impact mitigation plan, all the details of what are the impacts, how will we mitigate it, how will we put out the information for it. And we'll have appendices that will describe who all the stakeholders are. We have businesses, we have residents, we have schools, we have community centers, places people gather. How do we reach all of the different folks? And then also, what are the different methods we use to reach them? How often do we use them? So we'll have newsletters. Newsletters get mailed, they're put out on email, they're put out on next door notices. We reach out to our council offices, our Eastridge to BART Regional Connector. Oh my God, it's a big title. Policy Advisory Board, there we go, and ask you to send it out on your newsletters. So ideally, we'd like to get every resident to receive it 5 times. If they get it 1 time, I'm really happy. Okay. Let's see, anything else before we go to the next one? Go ahead. This one's good. Okay. You're missing, okay, so we're missing a whole slide here on my stakeholder working group, I think.
And I was going to invite you to talk about your stakeholder
Okay.
working group if that is on our end. If we have a version
That's
control issue,
okay.
I apologize. And we can
That's
get them
okay.
corrected.
No, that's okay. Like I said, we can be flexible. So part of what we're doing while I'm developing this outreach plan is also putting together a stakeholder working group. It's modeled after the BART Community Working Group program, so that there's some equality in that. As far as the nomination process and form, it has to be a resident or business that is located within half a mile of the project. Cannot be, now I need my glasses, hold on 1 second. Nominee must not be an elected official or work with an elected official or represent City of San Jose or County of Santa Clara or have any kind of conflict of interest. Ideally, and this will be just one stakeholder working group. We'll have 8 to 10 members of the public to serve as a liaison and help bring us information as well as help disseminate the information. Ideally, we'll probably have quarterly or bi-monthly meetings. We're still working out the details of this. But the task is to really work with us, providing input on our outreach planning. And they may also be part of there's an art component. They can be part of that group as well. So we're still ironing out all the details. And now we can go to the next slide. Okay, current activities, there we go. So where are we now? We're finishing up these details, getting the drafts done, and setting up meetings right now with our Policy Advisory Board to review the stakeholder nominees. We do have some names. We received really good ideas on organizations that should be part of this, but I need names of people in those organizations, so I'm still kind of dragging some of this out. And we also have stakeholder lists. We've already gone down the corridor and listed all the businesses, and now we have them plotted on Google Maps, and we can show exactly who's impacted, like really impacted versus just being there. And we want to make sure that everyone, we're not missing anything. Same with the schools. There's a lot of school crossing or people just trying to get there that will be impacted by the traffic. So we want to make sure we've identified them all, and we're working on getting contacts for that. And then we'll present all of these at the March 18th PAB meeting, and we'll go over hopefully the final stakeholder working group list, or at least we'll have a good maybe foundation and can move on going forward. We're in this for a few years, so we've got time. Go over the stakeholder working group meeting schedule, and then present the draft outreach plan, which is also dynamic. It's going to be changing as the project moves forward, so I don't think it'll ever be a final outreach plan. Okay, that's it.
Great, and with that, we are able to take any questions about these 3 items.
Thank you. Before we do questions and before we do public comment, I would like to invite my colleagues who are on any of the outside committees that we don't have a formal reporting process for to report out. And I know this is the first time we've done this, and we didn't give you a heads up last month that we would be doing this month because I forgot. So if anybody has any short report, please feel free to give that. So if you're on MTC or anything that has to do with high-speed rail, I have a short Caltrain. I can give a short little Caltrain report. Does anybody have anything? Yeah, the Diridon Joint Policy Advisory Board, we don't really have an update, I think, because the last thing we did, the council voted on something, so, but just in the future. And then if you want to do a Monterey Corridor one, I can go forward with the Caltrain one. So for Caltrain, I know we've talked about the Diridon station and the plan for that, but what we haven't talked about as a full council is that the Caltrain business plan is moving forward, and what's going to be happening at this Thursday's meeting. So we do first Thursdays. At this first Thursday meeting is we will be, I think, we will be hiring an outside attorney specifically for the board to discuss governance issues. So one of the things that's happening as part of the business plan is determining what Caltrain is going to be when it grows up, and that is both for governance and management, if the board needs to change, and if we want to continue with San Mateo Samtrans being the managing partner, or if we want to have a separate Caltrain altogether, and whether it has all of its own staff. So we're all the 3 VTA and the other 2 counties have put in some funds for a separate attorney to help the board work through that issue, in addition to the consultants that are already that have already reported on kind of what our options are. So we'll be talking about that, and we are also working on a funding measure, because Caltrain is not independently funded; it's funded by its partner agencies, and we will be getting an update about that on Thursday as well. So those are kind of the most recent things that are going on.
I don't know that I have anything new, because you just heard the update. And I actually was going to ask a question about the update. I think you have a more recent update than I have in terms of update, so okay. No update.
Thank you. Did you want to? Okay.
No,
And I didn't know if...
I'll come maybe next time with.
Okay.
Yeah, we'll come prepared.
Yeah.
I have a small update and then a couple of comments. One is on e-bag.
Great.
There was some discussion around combining the Foster Bay Area with the housing, very controversial, and not a lot of, I think, cohesion at ABAG amongst the cities and the counties that were present there. I think there was agreement to sort of sit down and talk about it, I think was about as far as we got, which is what you would expect. And then the two comments were, I just wanted to thank you for making this. I think this is really important, and I think there's been a lot of conversation around the transit signal priorities. I know it's certainly something that we've talked about under the Monterey corridor moving forward, particularly as we look towards high-speed rail and Caltrain and VTA and making those connections from South County to Diridon. But this was really great, thank you. And then lastly, I just wanted to make a comment on the East Valley Light Rail, which is the East Ridge to BART Light Rail project. It's so exciting. So I'm District 7, so this is totally in 5 and 8, but I'm like the neighbor. And so all of our people, though, it's all of our people use this. They're driving, they're in cars. We had a little side conversation about how to get people out of their cars because traffic is nuts, right? And so this is such an exciting project, and I just wanted to say that I'm willing to help.
Thank you. I'm gonna add to it.
Because there are a lot of people that that I think are in East San Jose who are supportive of this project.
Yes.
But also once construction starts, because I was looking at the schedule and I thought, holy moly, 2021, we really need to, and actually before then, it's coming, and we just need to like partner and support the effort to get information out to people as much as possible.
Yes, thank you.
Thanks. That's it.
Thank you. Yeah, so we're going to go to public comment next, and then we'll come back to the committee. We have Roland, Paul, and Blair. And I think Roland has a video or slides or something for us. Oh, it's at the end. Okay.
So, new transit plan, the 181 connection between San Jose and Warm Spring now takes 30 minutes longer, which effectively eliminates BART as a viable alternative between San Jose and San Francisco. The VTA broke this connection in two ways. First, they increased the 181 headways from 15 to 20 minutes, so every other connection with the light rail and BART can now take anything between 5 and 20 minutes. Next, they added a stop at Older to make connection to the Orange Line. This stops at 8 minutes to the trip. Nobody gets on or off the 181, and the connection would not work if anybody tried to use it. The situation is so bad that Google now recommends taking Caltrain to Millbrae and switch to BART to go to Oakland. BART Phase 1 has no end in sight, with 350 or 50% of pre-revenue discrepancies unresolved. In the meantime, VT are running empty 523 buses to Berryessa while losing ridership on the 181 and BART. BART Phase 2 is actually worse because the VT has lost environmental clearance for Phase 2 when they increased the tunnel diameter to 55 feet. They have not redesigned the East Portal on Las Plumas and plan on starting the tunneling near Newhall, presumably with the intention of switching back to the alignment above 101 after 28th Street, if and when they ever get that far. There is no sign of a supplemental EIR. My recommendation to council is to mandate start of tunneling on the east side to make sure that the people on the east side do not end up with short end of the state as usual. On the funding measure, Santa Clara County will be responsible for 55% of all revenue between the three counties. But half of Santa Clara County, including half San Jose, still don't get Caltrain service. So I will recommend that each county retain their own tax revenues in separate buckets and control how the money is expended. Thank you.
Thank you. Paul?
Good afternoon, Paul Soto from the neighborhood that's going to be disrupted by VTA. I grew up right around the block from there. Still have family and friends that live in that area. I'd like to thank you for your advocacy, Councilwoman Esparza. I really appreciate it as a citizen. I appreciate that you're on the council and asking the questions that you are. This is from the Metro. Official documents also shed new light on Google's outsized role in the process meant to be driven by the public sector, with the search and advertising giant providing talking points for public officials and inserting itself into early design team discussions. Rebidding the contract could be costly for taxpayers, which I am, who already subsidize 90% of the transit agency's operating expenses. So, I mean, we're not stupid. We're not fools. I don't need for a bunch of lawyers inside of a courtroom to argue back and forth, manipulating language in order to tell me what I already know. That's one thing. If you're going to completely disrupt and dismantle this entire neighborhood, okay, that's bad enough as it is, but it's compounded by the fact that the entire process by which that is going to happen is corrupt. I mean, come on, man. Do you really need this stuff pointed out? That's what my position is, man. I mean, the kinds of traffic disruptions, all these bulldozers coming through, the complete gentrification of these areas. If that isn't bad enough, yet, like I said, it's compounded by these other. You have people that are on boards for the VTA, and then they're on boards for the city. And to look at me with a straight face and think that somehow or another the process isn't compromised? Come on. That is just, that's an insult. That's an insult to me as a human being. That's an insult to me as a citizen of this city that has roots in this city and especially that neighborhood.
Thank you. Blair?
Hi, thank you. I have some of the similar sentiments. I think what Paul is trying to say from my end is that what you guys need to work towards ideas of honesty. Just simple honesty with the community about what you're developing with projects can go a real long way, and you would not need this lawyer situation that you're currently involved with, it sounds like. So to continue, I mean, it's what I'm talking about. It's what I'm part of a system that, I guess to begin with Mr. Risto's comments, he very nicely has tried to open up how to describe about traffic signaling. And it sounds like you're all beginning to talk about it again with a bit more clarity. This time a year ago, San Jose was on top of the world about how good they were with traffic signaling issues. And at the priority meeting last week, you sounded like you've never heard of traffic signaling issues before in your lives, and everything is new. And it was very frustrating and hurtful, and you made a great attempt today to talk about it, and I thank you, but I think you missed an important point that was spoken about at the VTA public meetings. Each city of the South Bay has an important responsibility to work on the traffic signaling themselves. And San Jose has just paid $800,000 for new traffic signaling stuff. It's then that they coordinate with the VTA, is my understanding, and how to make the traffic signalings work. And I hope you have learn to make that clear and more clear, and we'll be practicing how to make that clear, and it shouldn't be a problem. And whenever you get in lies, it's never a problem just to open up and work out of it. I worry greatly about the FASTER program that will be coming on, and that is a part of all of this, and maybe that's how it's conducive to this conversation. And there's so much good work with human rights and civil rights that I hope your EIR for the high-speed rail can reflect that with good human values and good human practices. Thank you.
All right, back to my colleagues. Councilmember Arenas.
So I have a question about BART and their phases. I know that they're trying to resolve these items. I'm not sure exactly all that's happening, but I know that the phase 3 is at a halt there. What is the time frame that you expect for these items or these issues to be resolved so that you can reinitiate the phase 3?
So what we're doing right now is the team, BART is working, they're meeting daily with VTA, and they have about 28 crews, and we're prioritizing the discrepancies that are directly needed for revenue service, so we're focusing on that, and we just really are down to, I think the report that the board will get is there's less than a couple hundred, and like I said, they've been knocking them off at anywhere from 30 to 50 a week. So they're also looking at maybe if they can advance some of the phase 3 testing prior to that. They're looking at that right now, not a commitment to do so. But once all of that work is done and we transition it over to BART, it's probably about another 3 or 4 months with their pre-revenue operations, their operations training, and then their safety certification. So while we're on the home stretch, because the testing is still iterative, we can't specifically say, but I can say, we can't say exactly when the opening passenger service will begin, but I can say that we are really making significant progress towards it.
And the first step to that was addressing some of the discrepancies you said regarding revenue?
So before we can begin revenue operations, so it's not regarding revenue. We refer to passenger service as revenue operations. So we, once we get back to BART's acceptance testing, that remaining 20% that we have to do, then they will do what's called pre-revenue operations. It's like simulating service, everything it would be to operate the schedules using the operators, except you're not carrying passengers in revenue service. And then after that step, you do all the safety certifications with the CPUC, and then once we're safety certified, that's when we can begin carrying passengers.
Well, that sounds simple enough. I'm kidding. All jokes aside, so you said that there would be a remaining, after all of this is completed, there would be a remaining 20% for the phase, to reinitiate phase 3. So it's not like we would begin all over again.
Exactly. We were nearly complete with that, and back in November, we made a decision to not do BART's work and VTA's work because VTA could resolve those discrepancies if we had full access to the corridor, and that's what we've been doing, so that we looked at it and it was going to be an easier and more efficient way to expedite and get those discrepancies resolved than to us have access to the corridor 1/3 of the day, BART do operator training 1/3 of the day, and they identify and do their acceptance testing the other 1/3. So yes, they still have some remaining testing to do, and that's why it's difficult, because it's iterative. We don't know exactly what they might identify, but they have, I can say, in that 80% gone through most of the major systems. So it shouldn't be as involved as the first 80% was.
Great. Well, we'll have full confidence that you've crossed your T's and dotted your I's for sure. Okay, so that was one of the questions I had. The other question has to do, of course, with the East Ridge to BART light rail project. So I know the last time that I participated in the advisory board, I was told that the acquisition process was going to be, they projected that it would take longer, so that we wouldn't really be breaking ground for utility relocation until next year. But I see here that you have fall 2020. Do you have a more recent update?
So we're currently doing the right-of-way acquisition now. As far as that, I'm going to ask Ken real quick if you know a little bit about that piece of it, because I don't.
Thank you, Ken.
Good afternoon. I'm Ken Ronci, Deputy Director of VTA Design and Construction. I think the confusion at the last PAB was if condemnation is required, then there's a 8-month process that is independent from the normal at-will acquisition. So we're making offers, and we are able to begin utility relocation this fall. However, if litigation is required, then we will need to then do eminent domain. We'll have to wait 6 months to have the hearing. We'll then need to get order of possession. Then we can begin the utility relocation. So it wasn't that it was going to take longer. It's that we do not know now whether we'll need to do the litigation route or not. So we're making offers. Folks will have between a month and 2 to evaluate their offers. If they accept, it's a go. If they don't, then we have eminent domain proceedings, and that takes longer.
And have you made all the offers? I know that it goes in phases, so I'll take my question back. So I understood that piece of it. I just thought that because you go in phases and you have to do this in phases, we all suggested, hey, do it all at the same time, right? But you shared with us why that is not a good format and process. So I was just wondering if you projected, from what you know now, I guess in the first part of this light rail track, you haven't had any issues with acquisition so far.
We haven't reached the end of the offer period to know if there's going to be any condemnation. So we're truly in that part where we're finalizing the offer documents and making the offers. We then need to allow a month to 2 months for the property owners to evaluate. They're able to get their own appraisal if they so choose. and then the negotiations could begin. So we're not at a point where we would know whether we would need condemnation. So we've acquired no property yet.
Right.
Because we're still in that phase of making offers.
Negotiations, okay.
Of
So
offers, yeah.
you allow the 1 to 2 months, and so the ball is in the residents' court in terms of them reviewing and evaluating whether this is a good proposition for them.
For not all the properties, but for those that are prioritized for the utility relocation. So how we
Right.
prioritized it is the properties that need to be acquired for the transmission line relocations first, distribution is next, and then the non-utility work. And so for that first phase, we're in that process of finalizing documents and making offers.
Right, and this is, I get it, it's just for utility relocation. I just, in my mind, I just thought it was going to be until next year, and I thought, oh my gosh, I'm so disappointed, but I get now the clarification that is all based on whether you have to go into the next step of eminent domain, and if, you know, if a resident or a property owner isn't satisfied with the, whatever has been proposed to them, then that would take a little bit longer, because you would then have to litigate.
Correct. There's two parts to the utility relocation. One is the utility agreement, that's done. And the direction to proceed has been provided. They can't proceed without the property rights. We're now securing that.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. So, okay, my heart is a little lighter then. So I'll cross my fingers and hope that all of that negotiation goes well. I also wanted to just commend you on reaching out to a lot of our community members. I had somebody this weekend who shared with me that they were contacted to be part of the advisory board. And so, and I think, you know, I think it's one of the members that we had suggested, and is just a fabulous member. So I think you'll be pleasantly, well, I think equally as excited to working with him as we are.
He was. We were at the, I had attended the county meeting about the potential future of the Ocala Airport, and I wanted to go to that also because when I am going to the community neighborhood groups and they're telling me what's going on, well, I heard this, I heard that, I wanted to hear it firsthand.
Yeah.
Exactly what's being said, and I'm really glad I did. And I will go to the one next month as well.
Great.
And it's also just another way for me to reconnect.
Sure.
And there were a lot of people I knew because I've been going to the neighborhood associations. And,
Yes.
and I'd like to meet with you a little bit too. I'd like to maybe see about going to some District 7 groups too. I think it sounds like it might be a good idea.
Yeah, anything I
Just
can
to.
help.
So did you attend the, there was a presentation for the Reed Hillview potential
I went to
closure.
that one, yeah.
You were there?
I was there, yeah.
Okay, I didn't.
I
guess
didn't
we
see you either.
Yeah, because I gave them an update of our portion. Maybe when you were gone by
Oh,
the
wait, no,
time
I was at the one at the high school?
No, Welch Community Center.
Oh, no,
in the
I
middle
didn't go
of
to
the
that
park.
one. I didn't go to that one. I went to the one at that the
Got
county
it.
put on.
But I think you all are doing just a really great job
you.
in terms of reaching out. And I think you've really listened through a lot of our meetings in terms of what we feel is important, that online surveying is not adequate or is not enough, especially for some of our community that lives around the light rail extension corridor. So I really appreciate that. I also wanted to ask a question about, I know that you talked about in the BART process, you'll have a small business study, right? And I think you said you were going to take some of the lessons learned from that business study, apply it to the light rail extension, because there's some similarities in terms of impact to small businesses. And so I just wanted to, if you hadn't thought of it, I would love for you to maybe consider as you're winding down with that process, because it's way further ahead than we are, that you would. That we could gain some of that insight.
I think we should look at that. I think we're kind of referring more to earlier project, the BRT project.
Oh, okay, got it.
And that's okay. And what's going on with the BART project, it's not quite an equal comparison, and that's why we want to have our briefings and show you the maps.
So the small business study, I'm sorry, was that for the BRT?
Small business study was no, that was BART.
BART.
It's okay.
All righty. Okay.
know.
I'm getting my lines crossed.
It's
No
okay,
pun intended.
Well, no, actually, I was listening to that going, uh-oh, now they're going to expect that. Anyway, no, but the impact, the impacts are not, let me say, how did my mom put it to me when she was complaining about a construction project across the street? I'm like, Mom, that's nothing. I go, you should see the project what we're going to be doing and what it's going to do to the neighbors. And
Yeah.
she goes, in no way does that lessen the impact this is having on me.
Yes.
Like, ouch, you're right, okay.
Yeah.
So, while we are not digging tunnels, we are
Right.
pile driving, and we
Right.
are causing traffic.
Yes.
And so it could cause delays of people getting to businesses.
Mhm.
And there'll be some driveway issues. We
Mhm.
can work through that.
Mhm.
And so we'll definitely be working one-on-one with those businesses. I
Great.
think for the most part, it's going to be heavy on the traffic. That's going to be
Mhm.
frustrating for a lot of the business owners.
Absolutely. And what is that radius of impact for, because I think housing gave us a bit of a study session on small businesses and the impact that transportation infrastructure has on those small businesses, as we have seen down on the Alum Rock corridor. But I don't know what that impact radius is.
I've not ever seen that. I look at, I'm focused on a half mile or a mile wide of the corridor, but I'm looking at the direct impacts of getting to a business.
Mhm. Yeah, okay, well, maybe that's something we can look into a little bit further,
Absolutely,
because
yeah.
in that corridor, there isn't, well, a portion of that corridor, there isn't any small businesses, but as you get to, down to Tully and Capitol Expressway, now whether you go right or you keep going straight.
Right.
Right, I mean, that will create an impact for a lot of folks who do patronize a lot of the
Mhm.
small businesses on Tully and are a lot of very small ethnic, family-owned businesses. So that's why I wanted to bring that issue up. As well as, I think you'll see what is obvious in those stores and restaurants that are right off the Capitol Expressway. But I wanted to see what that radius of impact, or what our studies we've seen in the past in terms of consideration. I just want to make sure that we see this as, we're prepared for what is coming, and we know that there's going to be a lot of inconvenience for all of our residents, our business owners,
Correct.
just everyone. So I want to make sure that we go in this, and I know that you all are doing the right steps, eyes wide open, right? So that was one of my suggestions, to make sure that we keep an eye out for our small businesses, especially the ones that we kind of don't see. The last piece I just wanted to say, I wanted to thank you actually for striving to have at least 5 contacts with our residents before all of this is said and done, and so that they are in the know, and it is no surprise to anyone. Inconvenience will always happen regardless of whether we know it will happen. We knew it, but it doesn't mean that it's not inconvenient.
There's one thing to know it and another thing to feel it when
Yeah.
it really happens.
Right.
And then,
Yeah.
I start all of my presentations when I hear I didn't get it, I didn't know about it. All my presentations now start with, when I send newsletters, they look like this. Don't throw them away.
Yeah.
And I get it if there's more people in your house and it looks like junk mail. It's
right.
If you don't check your next door mail that day.
Right.
And so that's why the more ways we can get it out there, if one of those methods reaches the person.
Absolutely. And I would also encourage you to, there's always online services for some of the schools that parents typically receive information that way, but there's a number of schools that don't. They just have, paper newsletters. They continue to have paper newsletters, and I know for a fact that K.R. Smith is one of those schools that continue to have paper newsletters. So you may want to also connect with that school. They're fabulous.
I would
Kevin is
love
great.
to. I found that out too when we were doing the environmental, when I was making my rounds for that, and I was dropping off flyers about all the environmental meetings, and I was going to the schools,
Mhm.
asking them to share this,
Wonderful.
and several of them said, we can share this with staff. I can't share this with parents because it has to go through the school districts. So then we're reaching out to the school districts, and I couldn't get a call back or an answer. So
We
this
can
is where
help
I'm,
you. We
that's
can
where I'm
help
gonna
you
be
with that.
dragging you guys in. That's exactly it. So yes.
Yeah,
We're
if
on
you
the same
send me
page
an
there.
email, then I will,
Okay.
I can.
That would be great.
Forward it and direct it to the right person and get you there. Because we
Perfect.
want to make sure just the information gets there.
Absolutely.
We're both on the
Great,
same
thank
page
you.
on that. All right, so those were my questions and my comments. I just wanted to thank you for making sure that we all know and that we're all creating some input and maybe really addressing some of the misconceptions or misinformation that is out there, that we're losing commuter lanes and things of that sort. So really refocusing how we see the light rail versus some of the, just right off the top, negative things that we can think of when we have this construction happen. So thank you. Thank you for your work.
Councilmember Perales?
Thank you. I'm curious why we didn't have any other update in regards to like high-speed rail, and so I don't know, John, if there's, or
We can certainly do that in future. Right now, High Speed Rail is preparing to release their environmental document, and that would have been the update they're preparing to release. So I think best is after they release, I think they're due either end of this month or first part of April. It would probably make a lot of sense to bring it back as soon as we see that document and then what our comments to them might be. So that probably would be timed better.
okay. I know that it obviously talks about the different agencies that we may want to hear the updates from, and thank you, Chair, for mentioning. I hadn't noticed that necessarily either in regards to the committee members, because in my role sitting on the Capital Corridor Board, I can also try to present if there's anything more relevant. I was looking up at our last meeting to see if there was something. There was a little bit on Aviso wetland study, but I will come better prepared in the future in that regard. And even if it is short or minimal, John, I would just say maybe we have a category for each of those that says, hey,
Sure, we could do that.
not much to update on, right? We'll be presenting more for this reason at the next quarterly update, something like that.
Sure.
So while we have actually VTA staff here, one of the things that was written in the report was in regards to the single passenger entrance building being planned for the BART project. And specifically for me, the interest is in the downtown station. As VTA staff knows, as a VTA board member, I've already voiced this, my interest in regards to wanting to ensure that we had, I would say, multiple, I think at bare minimum would be two, a east and west entrance. I'm curious from city staff if, what the conversations have been with VTA staff, and then also for my colleagues here on the committee and to yourself, John, would it be valuable to have that, I guess, that decision or that advocacy from the city that says, hey, this, we would truly want to see at a bare minimum those two, entrance and exits?
Yeah, we've already expressed that desire to actually have at least the two entrances. So VTA staff knows that what we're doing right now is awaiting a workshop that we were going to have on that. Right now, VTA is pretty busy with that 10% and trying to engineer that piece of work right now. And then we are going to try to have that. We've explained or expressed both the mayor and council's view in terms of having those multiple entrances. We provided some specific possibilities of those that include both sides of Santa Clara Street. So now it's a matter of seeing what can happen. I think there's some openness to it. There is a cost, and that's where they're trying to sort out some of those things right now. But we've already done that. We're waiting to actually get into some more specifics of a workshop to go into that issue specifically.
Okay, great, thank you.
I will only add that we have, in addition to conversations, those have involved multiple hour meetings in the fall and early this year, just to tease out some of the different options, to ask for some more options, more clarifications in the lead up to this workshop.
And then anybody from VTA wanted to respond?
So we've been looking at options and possibilities and analyzing them to get ready for a workshop. But as you also know too, we have a new chief program officer, so we're looping him in, but where there is plans for us to follow up on that and look at what the possibilities are, look at the options that were being discussed and the feasibility of those, and analyzing the cost and implications of those.
Okay. And I know obviously you'll be able to advocate further on the board. I don't think it should be an option. I think it should be a requirement. So I think that we should just be figuring out what it's going to take and not necessarily saying, hey, this is an option that we have. I think that should be, especially if we expect to have, a very well-utilized, sort of state-of-the-art new transit, system, our connection to BART here, if we were to rely on one entrance and exit, I can guarantee you, with a laughingstock of a transportation, sort of our very first, subway in downtown here, people will be baffled as to how we only had one entrance and exit and how they could not get into it as they're close to City Hall or going to San Jose State. And so I don't think it should be an option. I think that we should be, and so thank you, Lee staff on our end. And I know, was that a formal, maybe I'm forgetting, was that a formal direction that the council did give in regards to saying,
Yes,
hey?
it was.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, I was trying to remember when that happened.
We took it
Per-
when we were
Yeah.
deciding locations of stations at Diridon and downtown. We also identified the multiple entrances. So that's
Okay, thank you.
formally on the record and went over to VTA.
All right, then we don't have to do anything else in that regard. But I think as far as VTA board members and those of us on the city that wear that hat as well, we certainly have to continue to advocate for such. The last one, and only because it wasn't necessarily part of the presentation, but you did produce the flyer here. I'll maybe defend you a little bit, John, from what Blair said. I was actually myself confused as well when we were talking about priority setting on the transit signal priority because of this line that you have in here where TSP is employed at 135 traffic signals in San Jose. And from my service on the VTA board, my understanding is that actually the city of San Jose is doing a fairly good job in regards to prioritizing these signals for light rail as you go throughout the corridor and BRT. Certainly as you go throughout the county, there's some cities that wouldn't even allow BRT, let alone transit signal priority. So I was also confused on what we were going to gain more out of that priority. And I know the mayor was trying to drill down on that too in regards to, were we talking about just now all the buses throughout the network? And so I am curious, while we have, again, both agencies here, this is all way too early, right? Because we just barely prioritized that at our priority, but we know what TSP is and we're already doing it in the city of San Jose. So if a rep from the city and VTA can tell me, what is your thought on what would the expansion look like?
Yeah, so you were out when I just did a brief overview of what TSP is. So we have actually, the city of San Jose has actually been employing it for over 20 years on light rail. So it's already in place where the transit light rail trains run in city streets. Of course, you don't need it up on like the 87 and that sort of thing. And then 10 years on the BRT system that's been in place. The expansion of this, I touched it just a little bit, and Councilmember Esparza also did as well, that there are possible other locations within the city and county that there may be additional routes that VTA might be interested in approaching the city to install transit signal priority on those routes. It could be Monterey, it could be King Road, a number of places that we're looking into. We're always collaborating with VTA's technical people on improvements to the existing TSP as well, with some new technologies and how we're tweaking the different signal timing of each one of those. So we're always working on it with VTA, but right now it's at a pretty good level with the routes that they need. I'll let Jay talk about what other routes might benefit from this, but the local routes that stop every block or 2 blocks probably doesn't make a lot of sense. So like the 22 or some of those other routes like that probably don't make sense because they stop so often, but I'll let Jay comment on that.
Great.
Yeah, I think I'd like to add that, we have high hopes for future corridors. The one that comes to mind actually most today is the Monterey corridor, which, Councilmember, you're very well aware of. We have high hopes for that corridor and potentially turning that into a rapid service as well. So in our service hierarchy, we start with TSP and light rail, then go to the rapid, then the frequent, So we're kind of working on the rapids right now with an eye towards the future and where future growth will be. And Monterey is very high. King is also on our list for a very good potential corridor, especially heading into BART. And then I also want to mention, I think, TSP, there's a lot of details and a lot of technical details in the implementation of it. But TSP is like a dial. You can turn it however far you want, and you're kind of you're trading off prioritizing transit or potential impacts to car traffic, right? And so turning that dial is really, there's no right place for that dial to be. So that's why we're collaborating with the city constantly to kind of make sure that it's in the right place, and if we're not giving enough transit priority. So the devil is kind of in the details in this. It's not just you have it or you don't. You're always kind of working to improve it and making sure that it reflects your values.
Okay, that is helpful. I'm 100% behind prioritizing transit, and have been on the record numerous times saying that, and over vehicle traffic and slowing down cars. I was also just confused during our priority setting in regards to what was the focus going to be, because I didn't know we needed to prioritize that to say focus on something like the Monterey corridor, right? So I was kind of scratching my head as to what are we going to gain from prioritizing this if we're already doing it, right? As a city, we have certainly prioritized that transit signal priority, and I wouldn't assume that we would not want to prioritize it in particular corridors. So where I was confused was, are we talking about the entire network for these, as your point, the 15-minute routes along Santa Clara, and how far are we going, or are we just talking about specific areas throughout the city? I have heard, right, time and again, certain areas that are not in the city's jurisdiction but the county's jurisdiction, right, that we would love to see some priority. Yes, so I'm aware of those. Outside of maybe some specific areas, I wasn't aware of the gain that we could have in the city of San Jose. It sounds like I'm still only hearing a couple priority areas, so I don't know if you can...
these are areas that we would have to, we're collaborating with VTA, and as they bring forward a potential, like Monterey as another example of where they would like to upgrade that service frequency, and of course then the speed needs to come with it, and TSP is one of the techniques to help that transit vehicle ply its way through traffic. So that is one. There are other ones, just like Jay talked about, that are on the more frequent network, and the city is open to all of those as it works. It's just probably not going to get down to the local bus network that has so many stops. It probably wouldn't work as well. But all of those, the rapid system, the frequent that's 15-minute or less is what we're looking at. So likely there will be other corridors that we're going to employ TSP on.
Great. Okay. Sounds like it will be helpful then, which is positive. And then lastly, just to note a lived experience, I was riding along San Carlos, and a gentleman was getting dropped off to take the bus by his daughter, and the bus was just coming right then, and his daughter felt bad. Oh, I'm sorry, Dad, I just missed it. And it was great to see him go, it's all right, it comes every 15 minutes, and he was completely fine, right? And because he knows that the frequency is so often, it wasn't a big deal, right? And I don't know where he was going, but but it just to see that interaction spoke to this, the next network and what we're doing, and the opportunities that we're providing by having that more frequent service.
Thank you. Councilmember Diep?
Thank you. So I wanted to ask about the transit signal priority. How long has this been happening?
For the city of San Jose,
Yes,
we've had transit signal priority on the light rail system for over 20 years. And again, it's for the pieces that travel in the street, a lot of it in your district. For the 522, that is the rapid system that goes all the way to Palo Alto from Eastridge, that's been about a little over 10 years for the sections on Santa Clara and King Road and all the way through the Alameda. The newer system on 523, a little less, about 5 years.
Okay.
So it's been quite a long time that we've been actually employing this.
So in regards to light rail, then I guess the follow-up would be, is it working? Because
Yeah, I'll let
I
Jay
said in
answer
jest,
it,
but really because we've been talking about signal prioritization even at VTA, and I guess we have to work with the county on this. So I guess the real question is it really the county that is the hiccup here? Because if we've been doing it for 20 years, I was kind of under the impression that if we work towards signal prioritization, we could help increase speeds on the light rail. And there was even at VTA the proposal that we actually don't really have to get up to 35 miles per hour, because if we just make all the signals line up, we can increase it to 20 miles per hour. But because it moves seamlessly, we increase our movement rate by X% or something already. I mean, that's just from recollection, but I don't think the numbers might be off, but something to that effect.
Yeah. This is a difficult, you're right to bring this up. TSP is a very important issue for us. But again, there's no right place to be, or it's working or not. It's really a community choice. We've turned the dial too much in one direction in the past and had, backed up side traffic and then dialed it back a little bit. So, from VTA's perspective, we like to speed it up, and we see some problem locations. North First Street, First and Tasman, Montague, of course, is a problem. Anyone that rides the light rail knows it's a problem for us. But it's really a community choice for our elected officials to make as far as where we are in that dial and how far to push transit priority, I suppose.
Yeah, just those are exactly where we're having some of the issues. At First Street and Montague, that's a county-operated signal, and that does have a big impact on the reliability of North First Street traffic when trains get stuck there. Tasman is a very complex intersection, and we're actually going to be making some changes up there. What we're doing now with VTA is actually looking at some improvements technology-wise and adjustments to signal timing to work on pedestrian crossing, because when a pedestrian is actually pushing the button to either get to the center platform on First Street or intending to go all the way across the street, the signal doesn't know that, so we're going to be doing some improvements to the pedestrian signalization. So if you want to get to the center platform, it's not going to shut down that through traffic or the train system all the way across. So there are some improvements we're actually already funded and working on with VTA to actually improve North First Street. We don't have a solution at Montague. We are going to try some new things at Tasman, but again, we work on this all the time, and the dial gets twisted and turned all the time to try to make it work.
So could you just refresh my memory and help the committee recall? I remember reading something. I don't remember it was VTA or through DOT here at the city, but there was some sort of study saying that we could increase light rail up by a certain percentage of speed, but then we said, actually, we don't need to do that, because if we just focus on the signaling, we could increase the times anyway, not to the maximum 30 miles per hour, but.
Yeah, what we did, we've done a lot of studies in the light rail system because North First Street is a kind of a slow corridor for us, and we looked at the CPUC requirements that we'd have to, the physical things we'd have to put in, such as barriers and gates and such, to go faster on First Street, because we're limited by a CPUC speed limit. And we found that the cost benefit was just way out of whack, and so we said, well, it actually makes much more sense just to get better signal priority, because actually, even though you can get up to a higher speed, 10 miles, 5 miles an hour faster, we're still end up stopping in a lot of red lights. And so after looking at all the data, we found out that you could actually make more improvement per your dollar if you just do better signal priority. So it is important, and I'll add one more just anecdote. This is such an important issue for us because as traffic congestion increases, we get slowed down in traffic too. One example is the 22 used to take us 17 buses to running back and forth to provide the frequency that we have on it 5 years ago. Now it takes 22. So that increase in 5 buses, that's $2 million a year in operating costs that we had to pull from somewhere else. That meant a service cut, a service that doesn't run as late as it did before. So as our service just gets slower and slower, we're ending up putting more and more money into our transit network that isn't paying off.
So I guess when I heard that report, that makes sense to me. But now that seemed to me that, we're going to implement transit signal priority. But if we've been doing it in the city for like 20 years and 5 years in some places, I guess when we say we're focusing on TSP, what is the delta? What is the incremental change that we're doing now that will help us achieve those benefits that we're looking for?
Yeah, I just don't recall what was in that report, but we could certainly bring that back again.
But it's not just doubling down on what we've been doing for 20 years.
It's as Jay was describing, there are tweaking and modification that we can make to the system, make it go faster. And then again, that pedestrian call button change we can do, and that's a technology fix. Now we're trying to get better signal priority technology. Right now, what's operating out there is about 1970s technology, so we've got to get more reliability out of the system as well.
Got it.
It's
Okay.
actually still reading from underground pipes that have, it's just not as upgraded as it needs to be. So actually that is what we're working with VTA to upgrade a lot of that as well.
Got it, okay. And then is this technology applied to buses or just light rail?
It's a different technology, and the buses are actually a little ahead just because they're actually have readers on the vehicles themselves that are able to detect and talk to the signals. But
But we have them for both.
Yes.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
And there's a capacity issue too. There's only a certain amount of green time that can be allocated, and I think that balancing is key. And I think one of the things we've always talked, what can get the most commuters in a corridor going? And to the extent that we could speed it up and get more people on transit, that could be the way to go, but we have to get
Right.
more people there. So that's a factor in the equation.
Sounds good. All right, thank you.
Thank you. I have a couple of questions. First, did anybody from VTA want to address Roland's comments about the environmental clearance and the tunnel size change?
So we're evaluating right now, as part of the 10% design, what type of analysis, if anything, further would have to be done based on the larger muck and things like that, and looking at if there would be any additional modeling for traffic or anything. So we're looking at that right now.
So did the tunnel size change?
So the tunnel size did change from what was environmentally cleared. We do have a larger tunnel from 48 to 55 feet.
Okay.
That's the design that we're currently advancing.
And so we don't know yet if we will just have to do an amendment to the environmental clearance, or whether
That's
we have to do
most likely
a
the
new one?
situation. We are not anticipating having to reopen up the environmental document at this time.
Okay, and then the issue about tunneling from the east versus the west is the project, I had just assumed that the project would start where BART leaves off now. Is that not the case?
So that's where the project starts, but that is not necessarily the way that the tunnel, the current plan is that the tunnel will begin from the west and move to the east, and that's because the staging area that's at the Santa Clara station. So that is the strategy, is to tunnel from west to east. But as you know, the system has to connect to the existing system, so the tunnel will go all the way through to Alum Rock and to the Berryessa extension.
Right, there's no BART north of Santa Clara anyway.
Just
Okay.
a slight clarification, because I'm not sure everybody is familiar with the term muck, or perhaps its importance for the staging area. Do you want to elaborate? Because we want people to, have a clear
Sure.
idea.
Muck is the material that they take, that the tunnel boring machine takes, and it will be, as the tunnel boring machine goes through, then that is loaded on trucks, and it'll be trucked out or through rail. So those are the things, if there's a way that they could transport that, and that there wouldn't be, it would be more about if it had an impact on traffic. So they're looking at ways, like if they were to utilize the Santa Clara station and move it directly from that station, it went on rail, then there might not be any implications. So that's why we're evaluating that currently.
Okay. Thank you. And I can't remember what you said about how far you need to get to a timeline, a schedule for that part of the project. So since you'll be starting on the west side, I am a lot more interested, because I thought it was starting on the east side and that it wouldn't be going through my district
So currently, right now,
when it started.
Currently, right now, we just held a contractor forum, so to look at the interest of the contracting community, because their interest in the competitiveness does really impact the cost of the project and what the bids will come in. So we don't know. We're looking at 10% design. It's not definitive,
Okay.
but the schedule right now is if we advance to 30% design in the fall, we submit our application through EPD, that we might begin some pre-construction activities as early as 2021, but construction wouldn't begin until sometime in 2022.
I thought some of the potholing was already
So those
happening.
are more field investigations to look
Okay.
at soil conditions and such.
Okay, thank you. I appreciate that. And then my final question, the business resource plan, I appreciate the presentation on that. The question I have is, so this goes down Santa Clara, we had Alum Rock BRT, and it caused a lot of disruption to businesses, and dozens of businesses closed. So I'd like to know how this plan is different from that plan, because I don't want to do that again.
So what we're doing is, and I want to reiterate too how phase one was delivered, because I worked on all the communications and outreach for phase one, and we had significant amount of construction work, literally 8 feet from people's homes. So one thing that we're doing right now is we are doing all of the analysis, and we're going out and we'll be interviewing businesses. We're engaging the small business community to understand things like delivery patterns, traffic patterns, accessing those businesses. We'll take that information. We're going to get data on other similar projects, both public and private, to see how they've handled any kind of business support programs, whether that would be financial, marketing. So we're going to look at what the possible impacts would be, what the businesses need. I don't know why it's going on and off. And then we'll use that to develop what the resulting plan is. We don't really want to do a plan that either overpromises or overdelivers or more than we would have. We need to be respective that it's a publicly funded project, and we want to do a program that's appropriate for the project and the impact. So that's why we're making sure that we know exactly how this project's going to be delivered, how those businesses operate, and what the exact impacts will be.
Okay, so
right now
what
in the
happened
fact
with
finding.
BRT that
Pardon me?
How is this different than how you did it for BRT?
So with BRT, there was not an analysis that was done prior, and then there was not input into the contracting delivery that really specified the phasing and how the project could be delivered. When we did the BART Phase 1 package, we included many sort of constraints and restrictions on how the contractor could work and the impacts and the timing and how they could deliver the project. So this will also feed what Jill had mentioned is she's working on that plan on what is the information that will go ultimately into the contract package that will say what constraints and how you can deliver, how you can phase, what you can tear up, the timing and things like that.
Okay. Jim, did you want to comment?
Yeah, VTA did do an audit of the BRT project and a lot of the lessons learned from that, and much of that information is going into the project planning for BART. You know, there's some similarities and there's some differences in terms of, you know, a tunnel that's underground coming up only at certain locations versus one that's literally running, you know, in the middle of the street, the side of the street. So many, you know, differences and some similarities, and those lessons learned have been built into kind of the planning of the project. So a lot of effort to kind of learn heavily from that being incorporated. I think this study and those types of things are some of the examples of that.
Great, that's really helpful. And not having, obviously not having had a tunnel project before, I don't know how much of the area above will be closed off when the tunnel machine is going under, and what that looks like. So I don't have a sense of, you know, how much traffic will be diverted if the boring machine is underneath Santa Clara.
Yeah, you know, maybe VTA staff can talk to that. I don't
Maybe it's
think
not at
they'll
all.
have any impact.
Yeah. The rationale behind using the single bore tunneling methodology was that the twin bore would require more possibly of a cut and cover around the station areas, with the Santa Clara station being the staging area and the downtown area already VTA owning the VTA block. The intent was that this would significantly reduce the public impacts, because the main point for the tunnel and the impacts are where it starts and where it ends. So those would be areas that we already have as staging areas. So there would be construction, but it would be more off-street, like a typical high-rise development. And that's how the project would get delivered. And you would not necessarily know above ground exactly where the tunnel boring machine was. That machine will be approximately like 60, 70 feet below ground.
So the just having a high-rise project across the street, it does impact traffic on a regular basis. So that will be happening at the station entrances then.
Not necessarily as such, because for the downtown station, you know, VTA acquired the VTA block like more than a decade ago. And so there would be construction, staging, and development, but the predominant amount of that would be off-street.
Okay. Thank you. All right, any other comments or questions from my colleagues? All right, do we need a motion on this to accept the report?
Yes, you do.
Okay. Second. Thank you, all in favor? Aye. Okay, thank you, appreciate that.
And then the committee reports, we'll put that in the written report to all of you every quarter, so you know that you have that opportunity to
remind
do
us.
it. Yeah, it's in this one too.
Good. I think it might be good to have it, the meeting before we're gonna have the quarterly, just a note
verbal
for me to
reminder.
remind.
Yeah, absolutely.
That would be
Sure.
helpful. All right, we will move on to item 4, pavement maintenance conditions and program delivery strategy. John?
Okay, more good news. I'm John Risso, Director of Transportation. This item is an annual report that we do where we lay out our plans to what we have in mind to implement the pavement program. And you saw a similar report last year. This is good news that we've got adequate funding to really address all the city streets. We're going to talk about the 3-year plan as well as this upcoming season. So I'm going to turn it over to both Rick Scott, Deputy Director, and Frank Farshidi, our Division Manager for paving, to do the presentation.
Thank you.
As soon as they figure out
Where
how
their
to load
presentation
it.
is. There it is.
There you go.
All right, we will go off the PDF then.
Full screen. Full screen.
All right, good afternoon. As John mentioned, I'm Rick Scott, Deputy Director, DOT, and to my right is Frank Farshidi, our Division Manager, responsible for the pavement maintenance program. We're very excited to bring our annual update of the system, and through this presentation, we're going to be discussing the current state of our roadways and the delivery plan ahead. So with that, Frank, would you mind? So when we talk about the condition of our streets, we use a number of different metrics, and one you're probably very familiar with is PCI. We talk about that a lot. Another one, that's an average, so some data can be lost in there. Another thing we talk about is the actual percentage of our streets in good or better condition. So what we have here is basically our report card. You can see on the major streets, 70% are in good or excellent, 20% at risk to fair, 10% poor to failed, and then on the local streets, 37% good to excellent, 33% at risk to fair, 30% poor or failed. So we've actually seen a 2% increase on both the major and the local streets, of streets that have gone up to that good to excellent condition. So what that means is that while this entire network, this 2,434-mile network, is declining, the miles that we did work on we brought enough streets up to where we basically held the line and increased the amount of streets that are in good condition. So next slide. As you can see, now we're talking about PCI. Our actual PCI for the entire network, you can see down at the bottom row there, is a combined 66. So that's the same as last year. That's pretty much what we expected to happen, and that represents a significant investment. And we'll talk about the patterns of PCI and how roads deteriorate in the next slide. Frank? So as you can see, if you will recall, back in 2017, we had a new consultant assess our entire roadway, and we gained 5 points of PCI that year. So that's kind of a resetting of the norm. There was a lot of maintenance that we had done on those streets, but the real reason why it jumped so high was that all of our streets had been reassessed. The year after that, as you recall, in 2018, we did not, Measure B existed, but we were not allowed to use it. It was paused, that funding. This last year, we were able to use Measure B and maintain about 289 miles of streets. So again, as in my last slide, it's a significant accomplishment to keep your streets from deteriorating. As you can see, the pattern prior to 2017, what that looked like. And what we're seeing for the first time in a very long time, actually probably the first time ever, is a path to potentially reaching 70 by 2029. And that's been a longstanding council goal, to reach a PCI of 70, which is considered good condition. We may reach that, we may not, but we know that we're still short of the amount of funding annually needed to maintain that level. But we may reach it, we may approach it, and that's overall great news for the network. I think by now, most of you are pretty familiar with the pavement pyramid. And we have what's fundamentally very similar to last year. The same amount of mileage, the same PCI. Our annual need is about $102 million as it was last year. And our maintenance backlog is about $500,000 more. So it's $539.7 million. Slightly more than last year, but again, in the past, it was normal to expect about $100 million increase year over year. So this was a big improvement for us. looking at going down, and the apex of this pyramid is our potholes and program management. We still, despite all of the work we do on our network through the construction projects, we do maintain potholes and respond to those pretty quickly. And this last year, we actually filled 19,000 potholes, and that's the apex of this pyramid. And then as you go down to the major streets, we still have very good condition and overall PCI of 75. And then as you go to the local and neighborhood streets, we still have an overall PCI of about 60 on those streets, but the vast majority of our overall one-time maintenance backlog can be found on the far right there at the bottom of the triangle. Our one-time backlog of $323.9 million, and this is on streets that are in poor condition on our local and neighborhood streets. So that just, again, illuminates how much of the backlog overall is in these local and neighborhood streets that Measure T was specifically passed to help alleviate. We have here a 10-year funding projections, and you can kind of see we predict that $78.2 million annually would be needed to maintain a PCI of 66, so we're well above that. $102 million is needed to achieve and kind of sustain that 70 PCI. So we're in between. We're about $87 million over the next 10 years, and you can see that's really supported by Measure T. That's $37.5 million per year through fiscal year 26-27. And then this year, we have a federal grant, a federal resurfacing grant. That's that $17.22 million in the far left. We don't know if we're going to get another one of those grants in the next 5 to 10 years, but it's highly possible, and if so, we'll do our best to get it programmed and on our streets as quickly as we can. So as you can see, we're in really good shape until about 27, 28. But even then, when we go down to $55 million, that's substantially higher than we ever were prior to both SB1 and Measure B. So we'll still be at a level with a pretty robust and balanced maintenance program with resurfacing and sealing. Although you can expect at that point the PCI to start declining and conditions to start declining from where they are again. Slide. And so this slide, we'll talk through the entire background of it. So you can see there's 3 different lines here of best fit. The first one, it starts all the way back in 2010, and this was prior to our new consultant assessing the backlog. This was the track we were on up until 2017. You could see a sudden drop to $453 million back in 2017, and then that year, back in 2018, and then a predicted $1.1 billion maintenance backlog in 2027. So that was a level we just were not going to be able to come back from. And fortunately, around that time, that's when Measure B was passed. We weren't able to use it right away, but that's when it was passed. SB1 was programmed into our system, and so we were able to do some work to stabilize that backlog. So you can see 2019 is $539 million, and there is a typo in this chart. It should say $539 million again for 2020, and what you're seeing there is just the trajectory it was on at this time last year. So really, we're fundamentally in the same place. The one-time backlog is $539 million. That's what you saw in the Deferred Maintenance Infrastructure Backlog Report. So that was a snapshot in time. But the real story and kind of the most important message from this whole Measure T process is seeing what happens on that blue line down through 2029. Because not only are we decreasing from where we thought we'd be last year, but now that we have more details around the funding and how to program the plan into our software, we're projecting that we'll get down to $370 million maintenance backlog, one-time maintenance backlog in 2029. So that's a really big deal that 10 years from now, our maintenance backlog will be lower than it is today, and substantially so, and $730 million lower than it was predicted to be back a couple years ago.
And I'd add, at $1.1 billion, the ability to recover, pretty limited, and I think we made that point, and I think the council definitely took action, and $370 million, although large, that's still recoverable from. So a major change in where we're at.
And to emphasize, Measure T is $300 million. So this is the point, we've been saying a lot as an organization. The right money at the right time, spent in the right places, can really kind of be a force multiplier. And you can see that that's substantially lower or more of an impact than $300 million in Measure T. So with that, I'm going to pass it on to Frank Farshidi, our division manager.
So I'll take it on from the implementation perspective. So this slide goes over our production history, what we've been producing and maintaining since 2013. So a couple of points to clarify here. So we've been seeing the increase in the number of miles that we've been maintaining year over year, and as you could see, from 2013 all the way to 2018, that, our strategy was, mainly maintaining the major streets, major arterials and collectors, and we've been increasing that year over year. But what happened in 2019, you see that spike going to 289. That's where we actually started maintaining our residential streets. That's when the VTA Measure B was freed up. That was held up for 2.5 years, and that's in 2019 we were able to implement, push those projects out quickly, and we had 2 years worth of money, so that that's why we had a bigger program. And 2019 was also a milestone in another perspective. It was the first year that we were able to start and finish all the miles without any winter suspension. So that was a major milestone for us. And also, that's when our strategy changed to maintain residential as well as arterial and collectors. And also, so for future years, so for 2020 and 2021 and 2022, so 2020 is when we're starting delivering the first projects of Measure T, the bond funded corridors and projects. So the number of miles are going down, and the reason for that is we are switching gears and changing our strategy, going to prioritize the worst zones, and I'll talk about that in a couple of slides. So on to the project delivery machine, and what we have in the pipeline for 2020 season, meaning this construction season. So it's 3 numbers, 5, 8, and 8. So 5 major projects for a total of 77 miles. 8 minor contracts. Those have been actually have gone through the procurement phase for preparation works, meaning concrete and upgrading ADA curb ramps, and 8 major projects for our residential program, for a total of 128 miles and a total of 205 miles, combining major and local streets. So again, this year we are delivering the first bond-funded projects, and as you can see, we are focusing on rehabilitation and major rehab and resurfacing projects more this year. And overall, 56% of the miles are resurfacing. And we're also experimenting with Measure S, with minor procurement to deliver more efficiently and give local and small businesses more opportunities. So this slide kind of just gives you an overview of overall what we what the PCI means, and how do they look like out in the real world, right? So the 2 pictures on the top are category of 50 and above, and the 2 pictures at the bottom are 0 to 49. So the one on the far left, that's what we consider a very good street. So that's a PCI 87. And that's down the line we're going to maintain that street, but it's in a good shape, as you can see in that picture. The one on the right with a PCI 66, that's between 50-70. We consider that to be a at-risk street. So that's where we want to keep streets that are in a good shape, fairly in a good shape for a longer period of time, and that's where our pavement preservation and preventive maintenance comes in. All the way at the bottom, so on the left with a PCI 46, that's considered a poor street, and that's where we do a resurfacing. And the one on the right, that's pretty much a failed street that requires major rehab work. So on to local and neighborhood streets, we are going to continue using the pavement maintenance zone as an effective strategy of delivering our projects for residential. So we started this in 2019, last year, and it worked because, not only we were able to, group all these corridors in one geographical area, we were able to also get better pricing from contractors because we're targeting the zones, not just an individual segment of projects. Also worth noting about the 2020 project, our total funding for the residential program is roughly $56.4 million. So roughly $19 million or $18.9 million of that funding is coming from the VTA Measure B, and 37.5 is through Measure T. And again, our strategy, starting this year, is to focus on these worst pavement zones. So meaning on average, their PCIs are lower, and that's where we are targeting. We still have streets in these zones that are in that preventive maintenance category, but most of streets are in a poor shape.
If I can just clarify real quickly, when you see that total funding at $56.4 million, what we're talking about doing, as an organization, is prioritizing our local and neighborhood streets while still maintaining a good condition on our major streets. So that number doesn't necessarily equal Measure T. That's us, coming up with this 8-year plan we've talked about. That's how we get there.
So where are we at with our plan that we laid out last year? So we are still on track to get to every single residential street by 2028. So as I mentioned, we completed the 2019 program, and our goal is still to get to every single street by 2028. We have a 3-year plan that you probably have seen. It gets updated every year, and we have overlaid that plan internally with all the internal stakeholders, meaning Vision Zero, the bike plan, and other stakeholders in the city, meaning Public Works, and also other outside stakeholders, meaning utility companies. And we've socialized the plan with council office and also the community, and we're using our website and other public outreach methods to get the plan to the community and residents and businesses as well. So with that, I'll pass it to Rick to
Yeah, so as we had this section last year too, because we really are in a new reality. We have our major streets are still at a PCI of 75, and I should add, we've held our local streets to 60, so conditions have stabilized and are on the verge of a dramatic increase. Funding has sufficiently improved, so we know, as we've talked about, at length, really the funding is what's making this difference right now. We have great people, we always have, but the funding is really what's making a huge difference in getting us to possibly reaching PCI 70 by 2029. In addition to our record of 289 miles last year, we're still going to be delivering 205 miles at this time this next year, with 56% of that being the more substantial resurfacing treatment. So we're really seeing a change in focus from a balanced approach to these more complicated but really fruitful projects that will deliver a big impact to a lot of people. And as Frank mentioned, we've done a lot of coordination both with our internal stakeholders, our DOT Vision Zero team, our DOT safety team, our DOT bike planning team, to make sure that we're efficiently doing these projects, and also reaching out to the community and working with the various council offices to express our plan. And that resulted in the release of our 3-year plan, which has been very successful so far, and I think received a lot of positive feedback. In addition to that, we're learning how to just do outreach in a much more proactive way. This past year, we did 15 community meetings, reaching 380 residents. We're poised to continue that and increase it, and even release a new website in the next month or so that will be very similar to a dashboard to kind of show the process of our miles in the construction season. So we're always looking for opportunities to enhance and improve our outreach as we're getting out there in the community, because the new reality is that we're maintaining 10% of the streets every year, and that's going to have a major impact on a lot of people. So we want to make sure that our impact is positive, and we're mitigating the concerns that people have with new construction. So thank you for your time.
Thank you.
We're available for any questions.
The maps that you had, I assume these are in bigger or maybe even interactive form on the website?
Yeah, that's right.
Drill in.
Is that there already?
Yes, there's a 3-year plan already that shows
Okay.
colored, what's happening on what year with that
Yeah.
street.
And remind me, sanjoseca.gov/DOT, is that the place to go?
I can send you the URL. It's in the memo.
It's the department
Let me read it.
page of the website.
Okay.
Yeah. sanjose.gov, your government, departments, transportation, roads, pavement.
Okay, got it. So if you go to the Department of Transportation website, for those of you who are
Footnote
looking at the
one.
maps, I just noticed in the audience that there was some frustration that the maps were not visible, but that's because they're on the website. They were just here kind of for illustrative purposes.
And you can drill down into them to get
Street by
blown up
street
to
stats
each
on it.
street information. So.
Yes, and some of my residents have already drilled down and determined that they would like their street paved this year. Thank you very much. We have one public commenter, Paul Soto.
Also from the Horseshoe, see, it's little things like that. And you start multiplying them and it starts forming a picture. The 87 that was noted, I looked at the condition of the street. An 87 marking does not get any kind of attention. 87 markings exist in Willow Glen, in District 6, and they will get immediate attention. But yet, you say that the cutoff mark is like 75. And so, I mean, it's just little things like this, man, that it doesn't make sense. You can see, because I ride a bike, so I have a direct line to the street. I know what the streets look like. I'm not in the car. So you see the inequities in the city in the way that wealth is distributed, because if you have better paved streets, that enhances the property values. And the property values, we already know, were delineated through redlining policies in this city. I mean, these are facts. This is not conjecture. And so what my issue is that certain neighborhoods get priority and certain neighborhoods don't. I couldn't see that map at all. That is not acceptable. I don't want to go home and check on a website. I come here. This is the public forum. This is the place where the city's business is to be put on display so that I, as a citizen, can determine what is going on in my city, because you're doing this business in my city. So that's why I'm here, and that was totally unacceptable, inadequate, and the next time that you come here and do a presentation, I would appreciate it if you had some clarity, or maybe double-checked. Double-check before, just go ahead and scan them and to determine whether or not it's adequate to present to the public.
Thank you, Blair.
Hi. To ask, this pavement maintenance is a part of Measure T funding, I would assume. I'm guessing. Thank you. And the Measure T, there is an important public oversight to Measure T that I think was talked about at the priorities last week. Well, not necessarily priorities, but at the council meeting by Matt Cano, I think, that you're looking into its audit process, its accounting process right now. I hope and that seemed to be the emphasis and focus at this time, and I hope that it's going to be developing ways to develop the public oversight needed. Thank you, Raul Prales and Councilperson Dieppe, for talking about traffic issues in the last item. That I feel you talked about it very well for me, and it described that there's you had 2 items that are going to be prioritized related to traffic, and this may be state of California issues, and I think Councilperson Perales really tried to put it into perspective that we can be mellow and still work on these traffic issues, and I thank him for that. And it just, to me, it really brings up the importance of the accountability with technology issues that I work on. And that's so important at this time. And I really hope that will be emphasized and brought up with all of these traffic issues that you're going to be talking about with pavement, with traffic calming issues, I guess, and the like. And so, good luck with the accountability stuff, and thank you.
Thank you. Back to my colleagues. Councilmember Morales.
Thank you. And so I'm going to echo a little bit of what Paul was saying in regards to just the actual equitable maintenance of payments. Now, in general, this is just on pavement, but right, we're obviously having that discussion at the city level around everything that we're doing. This was one of the examples that I used early on when we first initiated the discussion around equity in our city, and the idea was, as we were doing some research, we found one example in Oakland where, as they had rolled out their pavement maintenance projects similar to ours, where they had, generated new revenue to be able to go out and do a lot of pavement maintenance. They filtered that, as they do sort of most everything in their city, through their Office of Race and Equity. And they were able to then, conduct these pavement maintenance projects with the equity lens as well. And I know what we're doing, today is it's very inclusive in regards to the council offices and getting input and looking at the PCI, the pavement condition index. But we still lack, right at the moment, the opportunity to do so with a true equity lens. I was just in El Paso, and there was a presentation, part of a larger forum, but one of the presentations dove into equity, and there was an individual that their title was the Chief Resilience Officer. Both El Paso and the city of Dallas had that person. And under their Office of Resiliency fell equity. For both cities, Dallas and El Paso actually, they have both engaged in, many years ago now, the process that we are just beginning on building out this equity lens and incorporating that into all that they're producing. The Chief Resilience Officer from Dallas actually gave the specific example of their pavement maintenance and described how South Dallas is their predominantly lower income, minority, section of Dallas, very similar to, San Jose, everything east of 87, and in how they ran their pavement project through this equity lens, equity screen, and just some of the examples that they were giving were in regards to, let's say, for instance, we're talking about similar streets. PCI is about the same, very poor streets, maybe residential streets, but one is in a predominantly poor community and the other not. Even if they were, 1 year apart, so one was in the 2020 and the other was in the 2021, time frame for getting fixed. Even 1 year delay for a community member that is in a predominantly poor, low-income neighborhood and traditionally minority could amount to 10 times the cost of what it would be for somebody in a wealthier community. The suspension, right, the tires or the damage to their vehicle, driving for an extra year on poor pavement, right? The cost the implications of the cost on a poor family are tenfold that of a wealthier family that may be able to already themselves, maybe they already turn their car over every 5 years or 7 years on a lease or something, say, for individuals that own their own businesses. Versus a family that starts with an older car and then doesn't purchase a new one for 10 or 15 years, right? The difference, and this is what Dallas had done through their program, to sort of really determine not just using PCIs or the input from the council offices, but truly using an equity screen to determine where are we, right? Where should we really prioritize some of this? Which may actually mean in certain areas that even though they were poor, had a low PCI, they actually didn't get it first, right? They might have gotten it the next year. And you went to an area that you actually would help that community at the end of the day and still be helping both, but more equitably helping one that the cost burden on them would be tenfold, just simply because of an extra year of poor pavement. And so I think that's just one thing that if we had gotten this adopted earlier on, or if we'd have gotten it approved by our mayor in the budget last year, it's possible, right, that we could have already had a better equity lens or equity screen to be able to filter all of our pavement maintenance through. Now, we are on a total of a 9-year plan, right?
Roughly, yeah.
Roughly. I am hoping that, we don't complete this process of the equity analysis literally beyond that time, right? My colleagues and I have been asking that work gets sped up. I hope that that's something that's going to actually apply to our pavement plan, and that before we get too far into the 9-year program, we can actually maybe run some of this through now an equity filter, and then we may shift. Paul can't see it, but he'd be pissed off if he could. When you look at the map today of the pavement condition index, and you look, the neighborhood residential streets throughout Willow Glen and North Willow Glen are fairly similar. A lot of green and orange, so pretty poor, except for some of the major corridors which have been done, which are green. But when you look at the 3-year plan of 2020, 2021, and 2022, the only section that's not included in the next 3 years is the northern Willow Glen, which actually includes the council member's
It's my house.
neighborhood. So I imagine she's hearing from her own neighbors.
I am.
And the horseshoe. And so when you look at some of those, right, I do think that if we were to put this whole program through an equity filter, we may see a shift in where we would want to prioritize. It doesn't exist today, so I'm not knocking you for the fact that, right, you didn't do it. It's not necessarily, right, your fault. What I'm pointing out is the fact that that's why it's so desperately needed. And when you're seeing it done, when I'm going out to a conference and seeing it done in other cities and hearing from them the benefits that they're able to bring to their community as a whole, it's disheartening that we don't have that just yet. So it's not, again, this isn't necessarily a knock on you. This is more talking about, I think, the need for that process to be completed. Overall, I'm happy that we're going to get all of our streets paved in the next 9 years. We have the dollars to be able to do so. It's unfortunate that we didn't have this equity analysis completed earlier in a true opportunity to invest these dollars equitably throughout the city.
You're welcome. Councilmember Esparza.
Thank you. Yeah, so first off, this is actually an exciting meeting, and as a new council member, to be able to come in and experience having money. Because you guys had to suffer, so this is great. I get giddy with some excitement. So first off, thank you. I know the team has put a tremendous amount of work into this, and we actually had some really good learning experiences in 2019 to apply for 2020. So it was a good kind of ramp up to really get operational on some things, especially with the community notification. I actually wanted to bring up a similar issue about equity and how we look at this. It's an issue that we spoke about last year pretty early on. District 7 notoriously had the last dirt road in the city, and much as has come up in Vision Zero, much of our infrastructure hasn't been updated in a couple of decades, right? A very long time, which I believe has contributed to some of the factors that have led to just the traffic situation being unsafe in District 7. But I did want to point something out on slide 12. If you can, there's a map of the 2020 pavement maintenance plan. And in that map, I agree with my colleague about the fact that we didn't have a formal equity screen moving forward. And we had a lot of discussions, I know, with your team, with the whole team and in my office about how we should look at the conditions. I don't think it's a surprise that if you look in the District 7 portion, the King and Story section, the Tropicana section is what's on the list, right? There's some sections there that are on the list because pavement conditions are so low that they moved up to the list. And And so now we're getting to that. We're sort of righting a wrong that has been around for a while. So I just wanted to point that out. And then secondly, I wanted to thank you also for really using the paving as an opportunity to be thoughtful, not just about addressing sort of inequities and really taking the time to use paving to look at a community a little bit different, how we can do things a little bit differently with the paving projects. We experienced that with Lucretia and the bike lanes, which totally worked. I'm sold. But also with our business community. So in the industrial areas, that we're able to really address that because it does affect sort of our economic health in the city when, particularly when we've got distribution and warehouses, when we're able to offer that service. And so there's a direct benefit to our city to be able to do that. So I just wanted to thank you for that.
Thank you. Councilmember Diep?
Yeah, kudos on the hard work, and 280 miles in 1 year is great, and I know we're keeping up with that pace, and I think you're doing a bit more even next year.
A little bit less. Last year was a lot of sealing. This year, a lot of resurfacing, which is a much more extensive repaving of the poor condition. So it's going to be less miles, but more work, essentially.
Great, okay.
Yeah.
My question kind of pertains to the work. I don't know about other council districts. I'm sure it happens as well. And in my district, I've had some residents contact my office. When crews come in, they repave the streets, but then sometimes it's kind of like a partial sealing or partial repavement where you get kind of the slick new surface in the center, but then sealing, but then on the side of the streets where the cars would be parked, they're moved, but you don't get a full, complete, like, flush even. And so I've been told
that's something different, but yeah.
But I guess the point being, in some streets, there's still cracks that are, you're not driving on it, it's just kind of where you would park, so maybe it's left alone. Sometimes it's, I know the cars are moved, I'm told. I know if your car doesn't move, you can't do anything, but I'm told cars were moved. And in contacting the DOT, I've been told that, crews will come back, because you gotta let the stuff dry and they'll come back later or sometimes. But then in some instances, I've actually seen, just even walking around lately, the crews came maybe 3 months ago or however long ago, but it was not an incomplete job, but they did not do everything on the street. So do we have kind of is it a case-by-case basis, or is there like a general catch-all answer that we can be giving residents?
So you could be talking about a couple of things. So it is not a practice of ours to hire a contractor to leave the parking areas unpaved. That's not something one of our projects would do, unless there's a mistake. So what I would say is we do have a pretty robust, we call it PROS program, which is Pothole Repeat Offender. I think that's the acronym. So we started doing this about 2 years ago, where it's streets that we know we're not going to be able to get to immediately, but there's a lot of potholes and they're really a concern for us. So we believe that by providing a patch over that area, more substantial than a pothole fill, provides relief to the residents and might actually kind of prevent some of this damage Councilmember Peralez was talking about. So there's that. And then as far as issues with actual workmanship, if you're seeing something, we'd obviously love to hear that. We have a 1-year warranty on all of our work, so if something's not up to specification, we can have the contractor go back and fix it. And our inspectors do go back and check to make sure that things are holding up the way they need to during that warranty period. So yeah, if there's something that you're seeing or questions about workmanship, just send them to us. We'll look into each one. And I will also add that we have an inspector on every single project at any given time. So if something's being missed, you see something, you live those streets, you know them better than we do. Just let us know.
So I think just to add to what Rick was talking about, I think where some of the potential concern was is that when Rick was talking about when we're going out there and doing these big patches, they happen to be in the travel lanes.
Right.
We don't touch, we don't move the cars, we leave them. That's actually not part of what we're talking about here. That is, we're going out there in advance, a couple of years in advance, because we know the street's so bad. We're trying to get a little bit of work done, so it doesn't count when we come back in and do the entire street, whether it's a resurface or a seal.
Right.
We'll get everything done.
That's
So
good.
cars got to move. We post them. We've got to make sure the trees are trimmed correctly. All of that work is done. But what you might be referring to is just that patching that happens.
No, that's good to know and
minimize
reassuring
some
to
of the
hear.
bad.
I
Just let us know which street, we'll tell you what happened.
Well, I guess I would just suggest then, when we do the patching, if it's indeed the patching, maybe leave a notice on the residents' homes to expect, because I think as a resident, you come home, you see something done, and to them, it's done, halfway finished.
Halfway,
And then they called the offices saying, like, you guys did something half-heartedly.
Right.
But they don't know specifically what the project number, who the contractor was, and so I'm just kind of searching around.
Those are our own crews doing
Yeah,
that.
communication makes sense there, and if
Yeah.
you have specific streets, just let us know and we can verify what
happened.
the intent of the treatment.
Sure, okay, great, thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Arenas?
Thank you. I'll make this quick because I think my colleagues have already really touched on some of the points that we've all faced last year, especially in getting so much done in 1 year. And I really appreciate the amount. I think it was, tell me again, it was, how many miles was it?
289 miles with
Wow, I was
no
gonna say
suspension,
229.
so there was
Darn
nothing
it.
carried over. This is the first time I've known about no carryover, so
No carryover.
289
Yeah, that was very
miles, so
impressive. So you
pretty-
all ended before the winter,
Yep,
and
right.
please pass this on to
long
members
summer.
of your department, that we really appreciate that. That's really a sign of great work and efficiency, and obviously leadership here. It also didn't come with any of some of the headaches that go along with construction, right? Just, I know that we face some issues as well.
We had some.
Yeah, we had one where we had the school was all.
Some of the school issues.
Yeah, the school.
It was a little quieter than usual, though, I will say
Nobody
that.
could pick
We were
up their
shocked.
kids.
Yeah.
That was hilarious, but, I'm sure that the parents were not laughing that day. Maybe
Yeah.
one day they'll look back and see the humor in that. But albeit I think that the progress is significant, and I think some of these little hiccups are things that we're learning. I appreciate, and I heard you say that what you learned in last year, you're going to apply it in this upcoming year. You're going to take those lessons, and we're going to see probably more communication, not only with our residents, but also with our office, just so we can coordinate a lot better. We can help you with getting that word out. So one of the things so thank you for that, and I look forward to that, because there is no answer that I can give a mom who can't get in to see to get their kids, right? And the kids can't walk through the pavement anyways. So one of the things I wanted to just reiterate, you've heard me say this before, and I can't remember who it was that touched on this, but I know that we have quite a bit of money for the next 9 years, correct? And so I want to make sure that we give an opportunity to our smaller businesses, construction businesses, as we talk about having a higher cost of construction. We actually create that ourselves by having less contracts, right? So we kind of create that competition for our own selves, driving that amount higher. And so I think that I don't know if this is part of something that Public Works in their academy, I can't remember exactly the name of it, but what they do with some of our vendors in helping them prepare for some of the process in bidding, and bonds and all that. I'm not gonna pretend all the details to know all the details of what a construction company does to get themselves completely ready and be able to bid on some of these higher projects. But I think the more contracts we have, the less, the less we'll be driving those costs for our own selves, and the better we will improve the economy for our small businesses, as we don't know that this 10-year glow, how long it's going to last. And so I heard one of you mention something about that, so I wanted to know a little bit more. What is it that you're doing?
So in our info memo, we released the major projects that Frank was talking about. So I think that's 13 total on the streets. And what we decided this year in working with Public Works, and like you mentioned, the Public Works Academy, there's a significant amount of work that we want to get ahead on and is relatively, repeatable, and not that labor intensive. So what we felt is that it would make sense to remove some of the ADA ramp work and sidewalk work and get further ahead, because our actual procurement process takes a couple of months. And a big part of paving is you want to get as far ahead on these ramps and concrete work as you can. So we took basically using Measure S, which, as you know, I think was approved last year, increasing the amount for a minor construction contract from $100,000 to about $600,000. We took that opportunity to create a number, I think we have eight minor projects that are more, way more likely to see bidders that are local and small businesses. Whereas a lot of our larger, there's always a fine line between efficiency and project delivery and doing exactly what you're talking about, trying to get our local community involved. So we felt that this would be a good chance to try and see, not only, for our benefit to get ahead on some of this work that needs to be done well in advance of the paving work, but to also engage local and small contractors. We thought this would be a good opportunity to use that new tool available to us. So that's why we're doing the 8 minors this year.
And we bid it, and we got a lot of local.
Right. We got
So you-
mainly,
yeah, so
they've
those are out,
been,
they're already in.
I think we've
work
got
out on
4 or
the
5.
street,
I think they've all been local that we've received.
Wonderful, because I think that was one of the issues, I think, with our ADA
Yep.
ramps. So
Yep.
I'm really glad to hear that. I think I missed that. I was in the back, and I was listening, but I think I missed just the visual here. I'm glad to hear that, because I think a large company was kind of, they were doing the rounds for the ADA ramps, and they were kind of leaving those, I don't know, cones or whatever, so that people wouldn't cross as they were in a process, right? And so then you have a whole street of ADA ramps all blocked off until the construction company comes in and does the second part of that process, right? And so, and even though that was a large company, they still, and when we talk about efficiency, it wasn't really efficient for a large company to do this, because they have a process that they carry out that creates a burden for our residents. So I'm glad that you're breaking this down a little bit more, and that this is going to offer an opportunity for our small businesses, or those that want to form a small business and see the potential here. I would love to continue to see this moving and adding up to more projects. So this is absolutely fabulous. It looks like each of those is a project that will get
the minor
bid on, right?
That's right. And
Except,
it is,
except the minor concrete, that's 8 projects that
in
they
that one line
administratively did that were much smaller.
Oh, okay.
was what we're talking about.
You see the,
So the minor concrete and ADA
Yeah.
ramps, 8 projects, the first one on there.
And those
So
are
it says
all
not applicable.
small businesses.
So yeah, overall, we are, along these payment corridors, we're delivering over 2,075 ramps. So except for that OBAC project, we've taken all the concrete and ADA curb ramp improvements out. And we've, programmed that, again, because we have this measure S and the number has increased to 600, we have defined 8 projects, and they have been
Wonderful.
divided. And
Well, and it's important to note that it is a fine line, because each of these projects requires a project manager, and we're
I know.
very lean as a group.
Yes.
We did 289 miles with pretty much the same team that did 89 miles the year before. So we expanded a little bit, but
Yeah.
not that much. So, this is a result of many conversations with our inspection and engineering staff. Is this
Right.
doable? And this is what we reached. So
Yeah, Rick, and
it's definitely something we want to try, and probably will be something we want to continue.
Yeah, and I appreciate that, and I think we can see it in a different light in terms of I think the cost savings that we would have with a larger company, or that, what the prices that we are driving ourselves up by having less contracts. That we would then actually save even when we have additional project managers. And we're creating value in our small businesses, right?
Yeah.
So this is fabulous. I didn't quite get it, but I thought I had heard it, and so I'm really, really happy about this.
Thanks. Thank you for clarifying.
And some of these bids are already in process, or?
That's right. So some of the dates have changed a little bit, but you'll see our first project award on March 17th, and then we'll have 2 on the 24th.
Wonderful. And if there's any open bids, I'm happy to post it on our newsletter. We have monthly newsletters, and if folks happen to read it, or pass it along to others who would be interested, I would love to pass that on, because it's great work. It's great work on your behalf, and I think it's considering our small business community, so thank you.
Thank you. I'll entertain a motion.
Second.
All in favor? All right, that passes, and we have a few open forum items. Paul Soto. David, did you want to talk in open forum? I don't have a card from you. No? Okay, just checking.
Paul Soto from the Horseshoe. That equity session that was conducted by Dr. Stephen Petey, it's opened a wound that won't close. It will not close. He gave me the information because all of the information that I had was kind of like out in the, I had all of the information. But what he did that day is he distilled it. And now I know what I'm looking at. And when I see it, it's, let me give you an example. I went to the Planning Commission meeting, the 531. I could not believe that there are 4 members on that committee from District 6 out of 7 members. And I said, aha, now this is starting to make sense now. Now this is not just this isn't my opinion, this isn't conjecture, this isn't what I would like to see or that I'm projecting onto the situation. This is objective fact. And there's more. But that's the one that I'll just kind of like put out there now. And they got a tongue lash. I opened up Stephen Petey's book right there on the spot and started just blasting them. Because this is disgusting. And it's done with the straight face, with the smile. You know what it is? It's manifest destiny with manners. That's what it is. It's tyranny with manners. It's with the smile. It's with the lawyer. It's with the executives that I don't even see. They're out in there in the ether. Oh, well, Google's coming. Google is not even a human being. It's an idea. It's just an idea. And look at how much of an impact that it's having on my life. So that planning commission got to change. I'm going to make sure that it changes.
Thank you. Roland?
Which one is it, Roland? Maybe you might want to take Blair while I...
Blair, can you go? Crazy.
Hi. To again offer, I think we are all respecting a now centralized process of how to talk about equity as a part of the yearly budget. I think this can now allow for a well-structured, decent-minded, more open community meeting public process that can address the roots of the terms equity and equality this summer. It may or may not create definitive absolutes, but it can very much help with a learning process, a healing process, and awareness building for everyone of San Jose in 2020, I feel. It can very much work to openly prepare and to address the concerns of the East Side and all of San Jose with the future questions of Google. The SAG meetings have started a very good example of what can be an open community meeting process for San Jose, as communities and their local governments across the country are addressing equity issues as well. My work with new surveillance and tech guidelines is a part of many local projects and movements in San Jose with a love of human rights, and civil protections that can invite all of us to work towards better reason, more caring ideas and practices in 2020. Ideas and practices meant to work towards peace and to end continual war, and is meant to better address shock doctrine, disaster capitalism practices as well. It is from this sort of decent, consistent good work, new legal precedents and guidelines over many years now in San Jose, I hope the mayor, city government staff, and even everyday community can begin a better balance in how to trust ourselves in decision-making as a well-reasoned democracy of individuals, compared to continually relying on a local community democracy to mostly function as a distant, insulated republic. I think we are all seeing good ideas and I hope good conversation and thought can allow ourselves past the noise and clutter to better understand the steps towards more collective ideas of care and our human good that is now more possible in San Jose and across the country in 2020. A thank you to the mayor, city government, and everyday community, and what I think we can work towards and accomplish together in 2020 in San Jose and across the country. Thank you.
Thank you. Roland?
Thank you. So going back to transportation. So first of all, the reason David does not have a card is because he's my partner in crime. So I'm actually going to present his work. This is his work. What I'm going to show you It's the way we would approach having a Jim. We're going to run out of time here. Okay, how we would approach connecting to the airport. So this is the Caltrain tracks just south of Lawrence, and here the ramps are on the outside. And so Caltrain is heading for Diridan, but we're now showing you tunnels going to the airport. And there are two different station designs. The first one is going to be classic outboard platforms. It's a cut and cover station on the Martin Avenue. And it's going to show you another design when we have a centerboard platform and the passing tracks on the outside, which is this one. And there's actually a third design that you're going to see right at the end of the presentation, if we don't run out of time, Jim. So that's how that works. And now we headed for Diridan for the grand finale. So this is actually what Burbank is doing right now in Southern California. They're moving the terminal to the other side of the airport. And this is very similar to Dusseldorf, I think. So yeah, we're going to get to Diridan, grand finale. We have got 33 seconds left. Okay, and this orange turkey you've seen over there is actually the two outside big tubes are the platforms, and in the center is the tunnel. Then you can see so this is what that looks like. And then on the grand finale, in the last 12 seconds, you're going to see what a real integrated station looks like. And I wish the VTA were here because I've actually learned something. So BART is under the light rail. You can see Caltrain, and you can see how we're coming at the bottom. Thank you.
Thank you. Meeting is adjourned.